Have you ever watched a river frozen in winter? It appears static, lifeless, trapped beneath a ceiling of glass. But this is an illusion of the surface. Deep beneath the ice, the water is not still. The current still remembers its path. It still feels the pull of the sea. This is the state of a soul that feels stuck. From the outside, and even to yourself, it can feel like all movement has ceased. A silent hum of a machine you cannot switch off. An invisible exhaustion that sleep does not cure. You run on a treadmill built of expectations, both your own and those of others, and you run so fast that you do not realize you are going nowhere. You may have a life that ticks all the boxes, a life filled with the noise and clutter of accomplishment, and yet you feel a quiet hollowness, a profound sense of disconnection from the person living that life. You look in the mirror, and a stranger looks back. This feeling is a sacred signal, a quiet alarm ringing in the depths of your being. It is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are ready to awaken. So I invite you now, not to a destination, but to a space. A quiet sanctuary away from the relentless demand to do, to achieve, to become. Let us create a space of profound stillness, right here, where the frozen surface of your life can begin to feel the warmth of your own awareness. This is not an escape. It is a return, a journey inward to listen, not to the clamor of the world, but to the silent, powerful current that flows beneath the ice. This is not a sermon. It is not a list of rules to follow. Consider these words a quiet current, a gentle frequency for you to tune into, allowing the rigid structures of who you think you are to soften, to yield, to finally melt away, revealing the powerful, unimpeded flow of your true self. There is nothing you need to fix. There is only a truth you need to remember. Let us begin. So the melting begins. And the first thing we must acknowledge is the nature of the prison itself, the architecture of the cage that holds you. It is not a place of stark, cold steel and overt cruelty. No, this prison is far more subtle, far more insidious. It is a gentle prison, a comfortable cage, padded with the soft velvet of the familiar. Think of a bird that has lived its entire life in a cage. One day, its owner, out of compassion or forgetfulness, leaves the door wide open. The sky, in all its terrifying, boundless glory, is available. The wind calls, promising altitudes the bird has only ever dreamed of. But what does the bird do? It shuffles on its perch. It looks at the open door, then back at the familiar seed tray, the predictable water dispenser, the well-known dimensions of its world. The sky is vast, yes, but it is also full of hawks and storms. The cage is small, but it is safe. The suffering within it is a known quantity, a predictable ache. And so, the bird stays. A prisoner not of the cage, but of its own fear of freedom. This is our condition. The part of you that feels stuck is clinging to a known suffering rather than risking an unknown liberation. There is a strange comfort in your pain. You know its weight, its texture, its daily rhythm. You have learned to function with its chains around your ankles. They have been there so long, you have mistaken their clanking for the sound of your own footsteps. This familiarity creates a powerful illusion of safety. The mind, in its primary function as a survival mechanism, does not prioritize happiness, it prioritizes predictability. A familiar hell is always preferable to an unknown heaven. And so, you walk the same mental paths day after day, wearing deep grooves into your consciousness. You think the same self-limiting thoughts, feel the same cycle of emotions, react to the world in the same predictable ways, all because the path is known. The new path, the path of freedom, is unpaved. It leads through a forest you have never explored. Your mind screams warnings of all the things that could go wrong. This is the great inner conflict, the silent war waged within you every single moment. There is a part of you, your soul, your essential self, that yearns for the open sky. It whispers to you in moments of quiet, in the melancholic beauty of a sunset, in the lyrics of a song that suddenly brings you to tears. It says, "There is more. You were meant for more than this. You were meant to fly." It is a voice of expansion, of courage, of life itself. But then another voice answers, the voice of the conditioned mind, the warden of your gentle prison. It is a voice of contraction, of fear. It sounds perfectly reasonable, logical even. It says, "But what if you fall? What if you leave this job and find nothing better? What if you leave this relationship and end up alone? What if you try and you fail and everyone sees? Stay here. It's not so bad. At least you know what to expect." This warden promises you safety, but it gives you stagnation. It promises you comfort, but it robs you of your vitality. And the tragedy is, we have been conditioned to listen to the warden while ignoring the sacred cry of the soul. Here is the truth that can begin to dismantle the walls. Here is the first ray of light. The bars of your cage are not forged from steel, but woven from stories. Your prison is not made of your circumstances, your past, your job, your relationships, or your bank account. It is made entirely of the stories you tell yourself about these things. These are the invisible threads, stronger than any metal, that hold you in place. The story of "I am not good enough." The story of "I am unlovable." The story of "It's too late for me." The story of "I always mess things up." The story of "The world is a dangerous place." The story of "I must be perfect to be accepted." These are not truths, they are narratives. They are programs that were installed in you long ago by parents, by society, by painful experiences. And you have been running these programs on autopilot for so long, you have mistaken them for your own identity. You think you are the story, you defend it. You find evidence for it everywhere, because your mind is programmed to seek what it believes to be true. So how do we begin to unravel these threads? How do we show the bird that the sky is its birthright? We do not start by fighting the story. We do not start by arguing with the warden. That only gives them more energy. We begin with a practice so simple, yet so profound, it can change everything. The practice of observation without judgment. This is your first tool, your first key. For just 5 minutes a day, I invite you to sit in silence. Set a timer, close your eyes, and simply watch. Your mind will offer you its usual menu of thoughts, the familiar stories. The not good enough story will arrive. The anxiety about the future story will play. The regret about the past story will begin its monologue. Your only task is not to stop them, not to change them, not even to believe them. Your task is simply to notice them. Imagine you are sitting on the bank of a river. The thoughts are leaves and branches floating by on the current. You do not have to jump into the river and grab onto every piece of debris. You can simply sit on the bank and watch them float past. When a familiar, painful story arises, instead of being swept away by it, you can create a tiny space of awareness and simply say to yourself, "Ah, here is the story of my unworthiness. I see it." You can even give it a name. Hello, old friend, the "I'm Not Good Enough" movie is playing again. This act of naming, of acknowledging, is an act of profound power. It is the moment you stop being the actor in the drama and become the audience. In that space between the observer and the thought, freedom is born. You are not the clouds of thought. You are the vast, open sky in which they appear and disappear. The stories only have power over you when you are completely identified with them, when you are lost in them. The moment you see the story as a story, it begins to lose its grip. This is the beginning of you showing the bird the open door. You are not forcing it out. You are just gently, consistently showing it that the cage is not the whole world. You are allowing a new possibility to enter its awareness. The 5 minutes of silent observation you practice today become 10 tomorrow. The one moment of catching a story becomes 5 moments. You begin to notice, in your daily life, how these narratives drive your reactions, how they dictate your choices. You see the not good enough story preventing you from speaking up in a meeting. You see the I am unlovable story causing you to accept treatment you do not deserve. And with each observation, the threads of the cage become a little weaker. The light of the sky becomes a little brighter. Do not be discouraged if the bird hesitates. It will. The fear is real. The responsibility of freedom is immense. In the cage, the warden provides the seed and water. In the sky, you must find your own. This is why we cling to our prisons. But the cost of this perceived safety is your life force. It is the slow dimming of your inner light. The practice of observation is the act of turning that light back upon itself, of lovingly exposing the mechanisms of your own captivity. You are not breaking down the walls of the prison. You are simply realizing, with ever-increasing clarity, that the walls are made of smoke. You are realizing that the door was never locked. Once you have seen, truly seen, that the cage is woven from thought, an immediate and profound question arises. Who is the weaver? Who is the architect of this intricate prison? To find the answer, we must turn from the cage itself and dare to look into the mirror. For it is in the mirror of our own resistance that we will find the face of the one who holds the key. So you stand before the weaver of stories and discover it is your own reflection. But the image is distorted, warped, angry. You see a face clenched in a silent scream, fists ready for a fight. Your first instinct is to recoil, to blame the mirror itself. This is a trick mirror, you think. This is not me. This cannot be me. You blame the lighting, the angle, the frame. You blame the world for creating such a monstrous reflection. And in this blaming, this rejection of what you see, you engage in the second great act of self-imprisonment, the act of resistance. Resistance is the subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, clenching of your entire being against what is. It is the energetic no to the present moment. It is the war you wage against reality, a war you can never ever win, but one that will exhaust you completely. Feel it in your body, for the body is the most honest mirror of all. Resistance is the tightness in your jaw when someone says something you disagree with. It is the shallow breath you take when you are afraid. It is the knot in your stomach when you think about your future. It is the armor you wear every day, a heavy, invisible suit made of shoulds and shouldn'ts. Life should be easier. People should be fairer. I should be further along by now. Each of these thoughts is an act of war against what is. You desire peace. You long for a calm and gentle life, yet your inner world is a constant battlefield. You are a warrior fighting the wind, a sailor cursing the waves, trying to force the entire ocean of existence to bend to your will. This struggle, this constant pushing against the current, is the source of your deepest exhaustion. It is not your life that is tiring you. It is your resistance to your life that is draining all of your energy. The universe, in its infinite intelligence and impersonality, operates on a simple principle. It is a mirror. It does not judge you. It does not punish you. It does not reward you. It simply, and with perfect accuracy, reflects back to you the energy you are projecting. If you walk through the world with clenched fists, you will find a world full of things to punch. If your inner state is one of anger and resentment, the mirror of the world will provide you with people and circumstances that perfectly justify your anger. If you vibrate with the energy of victimhood, the world will dutifully send you villains and oppressors. The world is not doing this to you. It is doing this for you. It is showing you, constantly, the state of your own interior. If you see conflict and drama everywhere you look, the universe is lovingly, urgently, trying to tell you to look for the war inside yourself. This brings us to one of the most powerful and most misunderstood spiritual laws. What you resist persists. This is not a punishment, it is a law of energy. Resistance is a form of incredibly focused attention. When you resist something, you are not ignoring it. You are pouring your life force into it. You are holding it tightly in your awareness, locked in a struggle with it. Imagine trying to hold a large beach ball underwater. The effort is immense. Your muscles tremble. Your focus is entirely on that ball. You are not thinking about the beautiful sun or the open water around you. Your entire reality has shrunk to the desperate task of holding down this buoyant thing that wants to rise. And the harder you push it down, the more upward pressure it exerts. Eventually, your strength will fail, and the ball will erupt from the surface with a force far greater than if you had simply let it float beside you. This is what you do with your unwanted emotions and circumstances. You resist your anxiety, so the universe gives you more situations to be anxious about. You resist the feeling of not having enough money, so you stay locked in a consciousness of lack, unable to see the opportunities for abundance that may be all around you. You resist a memory from your past, pushing it down, refusing to feel it, and so it haunts your dreams and dictates your present-day reactions, erupting with force when you least expect it. Your resistance is the anchor that keeps the unwanted thing tethered to you. By fighting it, you give it power. By struggling with it, you declare that it is as strong as you are. So what is the alternative? The alternative is a radical act of courage and surrender. It is the practice of allowing. It is the moment you decide to stop holding the beach ball underwater. You decide to let it be. When a feeling you have labeled as bad or negative arises, anxiety, anger, sadness, jealousy, practice is not to fight it, but to meet it. This is the practical application. You stop the internal monologue of, "I hate this feeling, I need to get rid of it, why is this happening to me?" And you shift to a new language, a language of radical acceptance. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and let the feeling come. Let's say it is anxiety. Instead of resisting it, you say, either silently or aloud, "I am aware of the energy of anxiety within me. I am making space for it. It is welcome here." This will feel insane to your conditioned mind. The warden will scream that you are inviting the enemy in, but do it anyway. Locate the feeling in your body. Where does the anxiety live? Is it a tightness in your chest, a fluttering in your stomach, a buzzing in your hands? Do not add a story to it. Simply observe the raw physical sensation. Is it hot or cold? Is it sharp or dull? Is it moving or static? Now, breathe into it. Imagine your breath is a warm, loving light. Do not try to breathe the feeling away. Breathe into it. Surround it with your awareness, with your acceptance. You are not condoning it. You are not saying you want to feel this way forever. You are simply dropping the resistance. You are ending the war. And a strange thing happens when you stop fighting. The energy you were using to suppress the feeling is now freed up. The feeling itself, once it has been seen, heard, and allowed to exist without judgment, begins to lose its charge. It has delivered its message. It has been honored. And very often, it will dissolve on its own, like a guest who leaves once they feel they have been truly welcomed. Let us return to the mirror. Complaining about your life, blaming other people, resenting your past, all of these are acts of punching the mirror. You see the reflection of your own angry face, and you shatter your knuckles against the glass, screaming at the reflection to change. But the mirror cannot change. It can only show what is. The only one who gets hurt is you. The only hand that bleeds is your own. The reflection just stands there, showing you your own fist. To stop punching the mirror is the ultimate act of self-love. It is the moment you realize that the power was never in changing the reflection. The power was always in smoothing your own face, in unclenching your own fist. When you change, The reflection must change. It has no choice. This is the only work there is to do. So you stop punching. You lower your bruised and bleeding hand. You stand before the mirror, breathing, finally willing to see. But the glass is smudged with the fingerprints of past battles, clouded by the breath of old anxieties. The reflection is still unclear, distorted by the residue of your long war. To see your true face, the radiant being that exists behind the stories and the resistance, you must first learn to clean the mirror. This is not done with more action, more effort, more struggle. It is done with the opposite. It is done through the profound, cleansing alchemy of stillness. You stand before the mirror of your reality, your hands lowered, the war of resistance paused. But the glass remains clouded, smudged with the residue of past struggles. The reflection is murky, unclear. Your mind screams for a solution, a cloth, a technique to wipe it clean. It wants a 10-step plan to achieve clarity. But this is the old way, the way of struggle. The way of cleaning the mirror is not an act of doing, but an act of being. It is the forgotten art, the sacred science, the profound alchemy of stillness. Imagine your consciousness is a glass of water. For years, you have been running, fighting, resisting, and in doing so, you have been kicking up the dirt and sediment from the bottom. Your frantic search for peace has been the very act of stirring the water, making it impossibly murky. Every anxious thought, every reactive email, every worried projection into the future is another vigorous stir of the spoon. And then you look at the muddy water of your life and you despair, wondering why you cannot see clearly. You try to fix it by stirring even faster, by analyzing the mud, by researching different kinds of water, hoping that more action will somehow lead to less turmoil. It cannot. The law is simple. The more you stir, the muddier it gets. Our world has forgotten this. It has built a religion out of motion. It worships at the altar of busyness. Stillness is seen as a sin. It is laziness. It is unproductiveness. It is a waste of precious time. We have become so addicted to the noise, so terrified of the silence, that we fill every available second with distraction. The moment a traffic light turns red, we reach for our phones. The moment a conversation ends, we turn on the television. We walk with headphones in our ears, silencing the world, but more importantly, silencing ourselves. We fear that if we were to stop, truly stop, we would be confronted by a terrifying emptiness, a void we cannot bear to face. We have come to believe that our worth is measured by our motion, that our value is in our doing. This is the great inner conflict that rages within the modern soul. When crisis strikes, when the water is at its muddiest, the conditioned mind, your inner warden, panics. It screams, do something, anything, make a plan, start a new project, fix it, now. It is a voice of frantic, chaotic energy, but beneath that scream, there is a much quieter voice, a whisper from the depths of your being. It is the voice of ancient wisdom, the voice of the universe itself, and it says, be still, just for a moment. Do nothing. Let the storm of thought pass. The answer is not in the storm. The answer is in the eye of the storm. It takes unimaginable courage to heed the whisper instead of the scream, to intentionally do nothing when every fiber of your being is telling you to do something feels like a betrayal of the highest order. But it is, in fact, the most profound act of trust you can perform. Here is the core message, the secret that stillness holds. The answers you are so desperately seeking are not in the noise. They were never in the noise. The answers are in the silence between your thoughts. Your thinking mind, the ego for all its cleverness, is the part of you that is stirring the glass. It can analyze the mud, categorize the mud, and write a doctoral thesis on the mud, but it cannot make the water clear. True clarity, insight, creativity, and peace do not arise from thought. They arise from the space from which thought itself emerges, that silent, fertile void, that field of pure potentiality. When you become still, you are not becoming empty, you are becoming full. You are aligning yourself with the creative power of the universe itself. You are allowing a higher intelligence than your own panicked mind to operate through you. So how do we practice this in a world that refuses to stop? We do not begin by trying to meditate for an hour in a cave. We begin with something much smaller, something so simple it seems insignificant. We begin with the practice of the pause. This is your tool. This is the way you stop stirring the glass. I invite you to set an alarm on your phone for 3 times during your day, morning, noon, and afternoon. When that alarm sounds, it is your sacred call to stillness. It is not a call to a long, arduous task. It is a call to take a single, conscious breath. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, typing an email, washing the dishes, walking down the street when the alarm rings, you stop, you pause everything, you become a statue for just a moment, and you take one breath. You inhale deeply, feeling the air fill your lungs, a gift of pure life force, and you exhale completely, letting go, releasing. That is all. Then you resume your day. This single breath is a portal. It is an anchor thrown from the stormy sea of your mind into the calm, deep seabed of the present moment. For that one breath, you are not your problems. You are not your past. You are not your to-do list. You are simply a breathing being, alive, right here, right now. It is a microdose of sanity, a pattern interrupt. And these tiny pauses, these single breaths, begin to have a cumulative effect. They begin to rewire your nervous system. You are teaching yourself, on a cellular level, that you do not have to live in a constant state of reaction. You are creating new neural pathways of peace. The space of stillness you visit for that one breath begins to expand, bleeding into the moments before and after. You become less reactive, less easily triggered. You find a little more space between an event and your response to it. Now, let us return to the glass of water. Each time you practice the pause, you are taking the spoon out of the glass. You are allowing the water to be still. And what happens to muddy water when it is left undisturbed? The alchemy begins. It happens by itself, without any effort from you. The heaviest particles of sediment, the big rocks of panic and terror, settle first. Then, the smaller pebbles of anger and frustration begin to drift down. Then the grains of anxiety and worry. Slowly, gently, moment by moment, breath by breath, the water begins to clear. You did not force it, you did not filter it. You simply created the conditions for its own natural clarity to reveal itself. This is the magic of stillness. It does not create clarity. It allows clarity to be seen. And as you stand before the now clearing mirror of your life, you can see your reflection more truly. A problem that seemed like an insurmountable mountain when the water was muddy now, in the clear light of stillness, looks like a manageable hill. A path forward that was completely invisible now appears, faint at first, but definite. The answers were always there. They were just obscured by the turmoil of your own mind. Stillness did not give you the answers. It allowed you to receive them. As you gaze into this clear water, as the mud of chaos settles to the bottom, something else becomes visible. Down there, resting on the floor of your consciousness, are tiny, hard objects you hadn't noticed before. They were hidden by the mud. These are the seeds. The seeds of belief, planted long ago, from which the entire tangled jungle of your current reality has grown. To truly be free, it is not enough to have clear water. We must now turn our attention to these seeds, to gently examine them, to understand their nature, and to decide which ones we wish to uproot. The water of your mind is clear. The sediment of chaos has settled. And now, in this newfound clarity of stillness, you can finally see them. Lying on the riverbed of your consciousness, hard and definite, are the seeds. These are the seeds of belief, the tiny, powerful kernels of thought from which your entire reality has been constructed. For years they were invisible, obscured by the muddy waters of resistance and distraction. But now they are revealed. And the next stage of our work, the work of a patient and loving gardener, is to examine these seeds and to decide which ones are weeds to be uprooted and which are flowers to be nourished. What is a core belief? It is not a casual opinion, like your preference for a certain type of music. It is a foundational assumption about life that you hold to be an absolute truth. It is the operating system of your mind, the invisible lens through which you perceive everything. And the most crucial thing to understand is that you did not consciously choose most of your core beliefs. They were planted in you when you were a child, when the soil of your mind was soft, fertile, and utterly uncritical. They were handed to you by your parents, your teachers, your culture, and your early childhood experiences. A parent's casual remark that money is hard to come by became a seed. A teacher's praise for being a quiet, good girl became a seed. The pain of a childhood friendship ending became the seed of, if I get too close to people, they will leave me. These beliefs were absorbed, not chosen, and they have been running your life on autopilot ever since. These seeds are not passive. They are active, creative forces. A belief is not just a thought. It is an instruction to the universe. It is a command to your own perception to filter reality in a way that proves the belief true. If you hold the seed of "I am not worthy," you will walk through life with invisible glasses that filter out all evidence of your worthiness. A compliment will feel insincere. An opportunity will feel like a mistake. A success will feel like a fluke, a fraud you are about to be exposed for. Your filter will, however, highlight every tiny piece of evidence that confirms your unworthiness. A neutral comment will be interpreted as criticism. A person's bad mood will be taken as a personal rejection. You unconsciously create and attract circumstances that validate your core programming. You do not see the world as it is. You see the world as you are. Herein lies one of the most profound and difficult inner conflicts on the spiritual path. A part of you, the awakening adult consciousness, begins to see the destructive nature of a particular belief. You see that the belief, "I must please everyone to be safe and loved," is leading you to burnout, resentment, and a complete loss of self. Your soul knows this plant is a poisonous weed, but another part of you, the conditioned, younger part, is terrified of uprooting it. It believes that abandoning this belief means you will become a selfish, uncaring, bad person. It equates the belief with your identity and your moral goodness. To question the belief feels like a betrayal of who you are, or who you are supposed to be. If I am not the helpful one, the peacekeeper, the one who never makes waves, then who am I? What is my value? This fear, the fear of losing your identity and the fear of becoming a bad person, is the very lock on the cage. It keeps you loyal to your own suffering, choosing to be a good but miserable prisoner rather than risking the unknown territory of being free. This is the great liberation, the core message that will hand you the shovel. You are not your beliefs. You are not the stories. You are the consciousness that is aware of the beliefs. You are the silent, spacious awareness in which these thought forms arise and fall. You are the gardener. The weeds are not you. They are simply plants that have been allowed to grow, unchecked, in your garden. And as the conscious gardener of your own inner world, you have the absolute right and the sacred responsibility to decide what grows there. You have the power to say, "This belief, this plant, no longer serves the ecosystem of my soul. It is draining the nutrients from the soil. It is blocking the sun from the flowers. It is time for it to go." The work of uprooting requires honesty, courage, and a pen and paper. The physical act of writing is crucial. It slows the racing mind and brings unconscious thoughts into the light of the conscious world. This is the practical exercise. Find a quiet time and space. At the top of a page, write the sentence stem, "I believe that." Then, without censorship or judgment, complete the sentence. Write whatever comes. I believe that I have to work twice as hard as anyone else. I believe that I am responsible for other people's feelings. I believe that there is something fundamentally wrong with me. I believe that if I truly relax, everything will fall apart. I believe that I don't deserve to be happy. Let them all pour out. Fill the page. This is your inventory. Now, for each belief you have written, you will become a gentle but firm investigator. You will ask 4 powerful questions. Let's take the belief, "I must please everyone." First question, where did this belief come from? Trace its roots. Did it come from a parent who was only pleased with you when you were compliant? Did it come from a religion that taught self-sacrifice? Did it come from a painful experience of rejection? You will often find it was not your original thought. You inherited it. This creates distance. Second question, is this belief absolutely 100% true? Can you find any exception anywhere in your life or the world where this is not true? Is it possible to be a good person without pleasing everyone? Is it possible that someone was displeased with you and you survived? The goal here is to crack the veneer of absolute certainty. Beliefs thrive in the dark of unquestioned certainty. A single crack of doubt lets the light in. Third question, how do I react? What happens in my life when I believe this thought? This connects the abstract belief to its tangible, painful consequences. When I believe I must please everyone, I say yes when I mean no. I feel exhausted and resentful. I betray my own needs. I lose respect for myself. I attract people who take advantage of my lack of boundaries. I feel anxious and constantly on edge, trying to manage everyone's perception of me. Be specific. Feel the cost of this belief in your body. Fourth and most profound question, who would I be without this thought? Close your eyes. Imagine for a moment a life where the belief, "I must please everyone," does not exist. It has been completely erased from your operating system. Who are you now? What do you do? How do you feel? Perhaps the answer is, without that thought, I would be calm. I would have more energy. I would make decisions based on my own joy and truth. I would speak honestly. I would be free. This question is not just an intellectual exercise, it is a portal. It gives you a felt sense of the freedom that awaits on the other side of the belief. This is the work of the gardener. You are not ripping the weeds out with violence and anger. You are kneeling in the soil of your own being, gently loosening the earth around the roots with your questions, seeing how they have spread, understanding their nature, and then, with the conscious understanding of their cost, you make a choice. You choose to pull them out. You choose the open space. You choose the possibility of who you would be without that thought. Each time you question a belief, you loosen its hold. Each time you see its negative consequences, you rob it of its power. You are reclaiming your garden, one weed at a time. You have done the courageous work. You have knelt in the soil of your own soul and pulled the weeds of a lifetime, beliefs that have defined the contours of your prison for decades. But now, you are left with something that can feel just as frightening as the weeds themselves. You are left with empty patches of earth, a space, a void. The mind, which abhors a vacuum, will rush to fill this emptiness with new anxieties and new distractions. The next stage of our journey, therefore, is not about frantically planting new seeds just yet. It is about learning the sacred and necessary art of embracing the void. And so you have done it. You have uprooted the weeds. You have questioned the stories that built your cage. You have let go of a belief, a role, an identity that was no longer you. And in its place, there is a a vast, unnerving, echoing space. This is the void. Do not be mistaken. This is not a gentle peace, not yet. This is a chasm, an emptiness that threatens to swallow you whole. The mind, your old warden, panics in this space. It scrambles for something, anything, to fill the emptiness. It screams for a new label, a new distraction, a new relationship, a new goal. It tells you that this emptiness is dangerous, that it is the very definition of failure, of loneliness, of meaninglessness. The urge to run, to fill this void immediately, is immense. It feels like a survival instinct, a desperate gasp for air after being held underwater. You have just escaped one prison, and the mind immediately wants to build another, simply because the familiarity of walls is less terrifying than the dizzying freedom of an open sky. This is the great trial of transformation, the moment where most turn back. We are conditioned to be something, a professional, a partner, a parent, a creator, a seeker. We are defined by our functions, our relationships, our pursuits. The void strips all of this away. It asks the terrifying question, without your story, who are you? Without your pain, what defines you? Without your striving, what is your purpose? The ego, which is nothing more than a collection of these labels and stories, perceives this emptiness as its own death, and it will fight viciously against it. It will whisper to you of all the things you are losing, of the security you have abandoned. It will tempt you with the ghost of your former self, painting it in nostalgic, gentle colors, making you forget the very suffocation that led you to let go in the first place. You will feel a profound conflict tearing you apart. A part of you, the soul, recognizes this space as sacred, as necessary. It breathes a sigh of relief in the silence. But another part, the conditioned mind, is in a state of sheer terror. It feels abandoned, unmoored, drifting in a cold, dark sea without a compass or a shore in sight. "What have I done?" it cries. "This is worse than before. At least then, I knew who I was. I knew what to expect." This is the voice of the frightened bird, standing at the open door of its cage, paralyzed by the vastness of the world outside. But listen to me, my friend. Listen closely, past the clamor of your fear. The core message here is a secret known by all mystics, all sages, all ancient traditions. Do not rush to fill this void. Do not run from this emptiness. This is not a barren wasteland. It is the most fertile ground you will ever know. This is the sacred womb of creation. This is the divine pause. This is the winter of the soul. Look at the mighty oak tree in the dead of winter. It stands naked, its branches stark against a grey sky. It appears lifeless, a mere skeleton of its summer glory. There are no leaves, no acorns, no signs of productivity. To the impatient eye, it looks like an ending. But you and I know better. We know that deep within its roots, beneath the frozen earth, life is not absent. It is consolidating. It is gathering its strength. It is undergoing a profound, silent, and invisible transformation, preparing for the explosive rebirth of spring. This void you are in, this is your winter. You are not empty. You are gathering. You are not lost. You are preparing. A new version of you is being formed in the darkness, in the stillness, in the supposed nothingness. To rush and fill this space with noise and distraction would be to plant seeds in frozen ground. It would be to demand the tree produce leaves in January. It is an act of violence against the natural rhythm of your own becoming. So, what is the practice? The practice is radical. It is the art of embracing your own winter. I invite you to try this. Allow yourself to have a purposeless day. A day with no to-do list, no grand objective, no pressure to achieve or become. Wake up and simply be. If you feel like sitting in silence, do that. If you feel a pull to walk in nature, follow it. If you feel like lying on the floor and listening to a single piece of music, give yourself that gift. At first, it will be deeply uncomfortable. The mind will chatter. It will tell you that you are being lazy, unproductive, worthless. Let it chatter. Observe it like you would observe a frantic, scared child. Do not fight it, but do not obey it. Simply stay in the space of not knowing. Stay in the space of being rather than doing. In these moments of purposelessness, something magical begins to happen. When you stop forcing, you create a vacuum into which your true essence can flow. A forgotten creative impulse might whisper to you. A genuine curiosity, not driven by ambition but by pure wonder, might arise. You might find yourself simply watching the way the light falls on a wall and feel a sense of peace you haven't felt in years. This is the universe beginning to speak to you in the silence you have finally allowed. You are not filling the void. You are allowing the void to fill you with what is real, with what is true for you. Now, befriend the uncertainty. Let it be your blanket. In our world, not knowing is seen as a weakness. In the world of the soul, it is the prerequisite for all true wisdom. When you think you have all the answers, you cannot learn anything new. When you are empty of answers, you are open to everything. This void is the ultimate state of openness. It is a portal. You have shed a skin, and now you must wait for the new one to grow. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be designed by your old mind. It must emerge. And it will emerge, as surely as spring follows winter. Your only task is to hold the space for its arrival, to honor the sacred emptiness, to trust that in this nothingness, everything is being born. This is not an act of passivity. It is an act of profound courage and trust. It is the ultimate statement to the universe that you are ready not for what you think you want, but for what your soul truly needs. You are letting go of the map you drew for yourself, and you are finally trusting the territory to reveal its own path. From this fertile emptiness, from this winter of the soul, a new energy will begin to stir. It will be quiet at first, like the first shoots of green pushing through the snow. Your next task will be to learn to recognize this new energy, to nurture it, and to follow where it leads. But for now, rest. Rest in the void. It is the crucible where your old self dissolves and your true self begins to remember who it is. Out of the silent, fertile void you so bravely inhabited, something begins to stir. It is not yet a thought, not a plan, not a destination. It is subtler than that. It is a current, a faint, almost imperceptible shift in your internal atmosphere. It is the first tremor of life returning, and this life speaks a language older than words. It speaks the language of energy. To move forward from this point, to consciously step into a new reality instead of sliding back into the old one, requires a fundamental shift in understanding. We must move beyond the world of solid objects and separate events and begin to perceive the universe as it truly is, a vast, interconnected ocean of vibration. Your logical mind, the part of you trained to navigate a three-dimensional world of cause and effect, may immediately resist this. It will call it abstract, unproven, nonsensical. Honor this resistance. It is a part of you that has kept you safe. But gently, invite it to consider a new possibility. The chair you are sitting on, the walls around you, your very own body, all appear solid and static. Yet science itself tells us this is an illusion. At the atomic level, these solid objects are almost entirely empty space, populated by particles vibrating at immense speeds. The solidity is a perception, created by the frequency of that vibration. Everything, from a rock to a ray of light to a fleeting thought, is energy vibrating at a different rate. This is not just a fascinating scientific fact. It is the most practical and empowering truth you can ever embrace, because it means your thoughts and emotions are not just private internal experiences. They are not merely chemical reactions locked inside your skull. They are tangible, energetic broadcasts. They are frequencies that you are constantly emitting, sending signals out into the vast, responsive field of the universe. Every moment of anxiety sends out a ripple of chaotic, contracted energy. Every moment of genuine gratitude sends out a wave of coherent, expansive energy. This is the currency of reality. Not money, not status, not hard work alone, but the vibrational quality of your own being. Herein lies the inner conflict that can keep a person trapped for a lifetime. There is the voice of the inner skeptic, the logician, who says, "This is foolish. My problems are real, they are external. I have a bill to pay, a difficult boss, a health issue. Thinking happy thoughts will not change these solid facts." And then there is the voice of the inner mystic, the quiet, intuitive self that has noticed the patterns. This part of you knows, on a level deeper than logic, that the days you wake up feeling hopeless and defeated are the days when traffic is worse, arguments erupt out of nowhere, and bad news arrives. And it knows that on the rare days you feel an unexplainable sense of joy and peace, the world seems to conspire in your favor. Solutions appear, people are kind, and synchronicities unfold like a secret, personal message from the cosmos. The conflict is between believing only what you can see and trusting the unseen forces that create what you see. The core message, the foundational law of this energetic universe, is this: you do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. Let that sink past the defenses of your mind and into the marrow of your bones. Your desires, your wants, your desperate prayers for change are often broadcast on a frequency of lack. When you plead, "I want more money," the dominant vibration you are emitting is "I do not have enough." When you cry, "I want to find a loving partner," the energy you are sending out is the sharp, painful frequency of "I am lonely." The universe, in its impersonal wisdom, does not hear your words. It feels your frequency. It is a mirror, not a genie. It does not give you what you ask for. It gives you more of what you already are, energetically. To change your reality, you cannot just change your thoughts. You must change your vibration. The most potent metaphor for this is a radio. Imagine the reality you desire own of peace, abundance, and joy is being broadcast on a clear, strong signal at 98.7 FM. If your own being, your energetic receiver, is tuned to 102.5 FM, the station of anxiety, resentment, and fear, you can stand by the radio all day long, begging and pleading for it to play the music from 98.7. You can get angry at the radio. You can analyze why it only plays static and sad songs. You can try to force the dial, but nothing will change until you calmly, deliberately, and consciously retune your own receiver to 98.7 FM. You must become the frequency you wish to receive. This is not about thinking positive in a superficial way. It is not about pasting a smile over a heart full of despair. The universe is not fooled by masks. This is about the authentic, embodied practice of cultivating the feeling of your desired reality, here and now, before it has manifested. This brings us to the practical application, the how of this great work. It is the practice of intentional feeling. When we speak of gratitude, for example, we are not speaking of the intellectual exercise of listing things you are grateful for. We are speaking of the act of closing your eyes and actively generating the sensation of gratitude within your body. Where does it live? Is it a warmth that spreads across your chest, a lightness in your head, a tingling in your hands? Linger there, amplify it, breathe into it. That feeling, that physical sensation, is the vibration. That is you, tuning your dial. Dedicate time each day to activities that naturally elevate your frequency, not as a chore, but as an act of sacred self-care. For you, It might be listening to a piece of music that makes your soul soar. It might be walking barefoot on the earth, allowing the planet's grounding frequency to stabilize your own. It might be losing yourself in a creative act, playing with a pet, or having a heartfelt conversation with a friend. These are not indulgences. They are essential acts of energetic hygiene. They are how you clean your signal and strengthen your broadcast. You are learning to become a conscious steward of your own energy, realizing that it is the most precious resource you possess. It is the very clay from which your future is molded. Every choice you make, from the food you eat to the media you consume to the people you spend time with, is either raising or lowering your frequency. It is either tuning you closer to the reality you desire or further away. The universe operates on the law of resonance. Like a tuning fork that causes another nearby tuning fork to vibrate at the same rate, your sustained energetic state sends out a signal that activates matching frequencies in the world around you. You begin to resonate with people, opportunities, and events that are a vibrational match to your inner being. This is not magic, it is physics. You have moved from a state of begging the universe to give you things, to a state of becoming an energetic match for the reality you wish to inhabit. The power has shifted from outside of you to within you. You are the broadcasting tower. And now that you understand this, the next logical step is to learn how to master the control panel. This is not done by force or will, but through the gentle, unwavering power of your own attention. You are a broadcasting tower, sending your signal out into the responsive universe. You understand now that the frequency of your being, the currency of your energy, is what shapes your world. This knowledge is powerful, but it leads to a crucial question. Who or what is directing the broadcast? What is the mechanism that focuses this raw energy and gives it a specific direction? The answer is the most intimate, most powerful, and most squandered faculty you possess. It is your attention. Your energy does not flow randomly. It flows precisely and unfailingly to where your attention is placed. This is a law as fundamental as gravity. What you focus on, you feed. What you feed grows. What grows becomes your reality. Take a moment to truly absorb this. It means that in every waking moment, you are actively nourishing something with your life force. The question is, what are you watering? Are you pouring the precious rain of your attention onto the garden of your dreams or onto the weeds of your fears? For most of us, our attention is not a tool we wield with intention. It is a wild, untamed thing. It is a scattered beam of light, hijacked by the slightest movement in the shadows. It is pulled by the phantom limb of past regrets and the terrifying specter of future anxieties. It is captured by the endless scroll of a glowing screen, the angry shouting on the news, the perceived slights of others, the chorus of inner critics. We spend our days with our attention fractured into 1,000 pieces, a little here on a worry, a little there on a judgment, a bit more on a mindless distraction. In this scattered state, our power is diluted to almost nothing. We feel like a ship without a rudder, tossed about by the chaotic waves of life, exhausted and overwhelmed. We believe we are reacting to the world, but the deeper truth is that we are creating our chaotic world by the very chaos of our attention. We are feeding the monsters in the dark by constantly shining our flashlight on them. The internal conflict here is subtle but profound. It is the battle between the unconscious habit and the conscious choice. The habit, ingrained over decades, is to let your attention automatically lock onto problems. A bill arrives, and your entire focus is consumed by the feeling of lack. A person criticizes you, and your attention replays their words on a loop, amplifying the hurt. This is a survival mechanism gone haywire, an ancient software that is constantly scanning for threats, even when the threats are purely psychological. It operates on autopilot, but the conscious choice is the awakening of the pilot within. It is the realization that you are not the ship nor the storm, but the captain who can choose where to point the rudder. It is the moment you decide to stop letting your attention be a stray dog that wanders wherever it pleases and begin training it to be a loyal hound that serves your highest purpose. This is not about controlling your thoughts. That is a frustrating and often fruitless battle. This is about choosing where you place your focus, which then naturally guides your thoughts and feelings. The core message is this: your attention is your most sacred asset. It is the currency of your consciousness. Every second you spend focusing on something, you are investing a piece of your life force into it. Are you making wise investments? The most powerful metaphor for this is a magnifying glass. On a sunny day, the diffuse sunlight provides a gentle warmth. It is pleasant, but it has no focused power. But if you take a magnifying glass and hold it steady, concentrating that same diffuse sunlight onto a single point, it can create fire. Your attention is that magnifying glass. When it is scattered, your energy is just a gentle, ineffective warmth. But when you learn to hold it steady, to focus it with intention on a single vision, a single feeling, a single solution, you gather all of your diffuse power and you ignite the fire of creation. You take the raw universal energy that is always available and you make it potent. You make it work for you. You are not creating energy, you are directing it, and that act of direction changes everything. The practical application of this is to become a fierce and loving guardian of your focus. It begins with framing your day, creating bookends of intention. When you wake up in the morning, before you reach for your phone, before the world has a chance to hijack your attention, take 1 minute, close your eyes, and make a conscious choice. You can say to yourself, "Today, I choose to focus on evidence of good in my life. I will be a detective for kindness. I will look for reasons to feel grateful." By doing this, you are not pretending problems don't exist. You are giving your mind its marching orders for the day. You are programming your internal search engine to look for specific data, and what it looks for, it will find. Then, at the end of the day, create the second bookend. Before sleep, turn your attention away from the day's troubles or the next day's worries. Instead, find one thing, just one thing, that went well. It could be a beautiful cloud you saw, a pleasant conversation, a task you completed. Don't just list it. Use your focused attention to re-enter that moment. See it, hear it, and most importantly, feel the positive emotion associated with it. This act of focused remembrance tells your entire system, this, more of this. You are marinating your consciousness in a positive frequency as you drift into the subconscious realm of sleep. This is not spiritual bypassing. It is not ignoring reality. If there is a wall in front of you, you acknowledge the wall. You don't pretend it isn't there. But the fool will spend all day staring at the wall, analyzing the wall, complaining about the wall, touching the bricks of the wall. Their entire reality becomes the wall. The wise person acknowledges the wall and then deliberately shifts their attention to searching for the door, or for a ladder, or for a way around. The problem is a data point, not a destination for your consciousness. By shifting your attention to the solution, you are directing your creative energy toward a breakthrough. You are using the magnifying glass to burn a hole through the obstacle, rather than just warming it with your worry. Start to treat your attention like the precious, finite resource it is. Ask yourself throughout the day, is this conversation nourishing me or draining me? Is watching this program making me feel expansive or contracted? Is dwelling on this memory serving my future or chaining me to my past? You become the gatekeeper of your own mind. You choose what you allow to take root. This is the foundation of self-mastery. It is the disciplined, moment-by-moment act of choosing where to place the spotlight of your soul. And as you master this art, you will discover that this spotlight of attention has a remarkable quality. It can only ever truly shine in one place. the present moment. And in that discovery, the very prison of time itself begins to dissolve. You have learned to gather your power by focusing your attention, using it as a magnifying glass to direct your energy. And now, we arrive at the space where this power is truly unleashed. For that lens of attention can only ever focus on one plane of existence, the eternal present moment. This is the great paradox and the most profound secret. All of your life, everything you have ever experienced, has only ever happened in a singular moment called now. And yet, for most of us, the now is the one place we refuse to live. We have become a species of time travelers, ghosts haunting the corridors of our own minds, and we have mistaken this haunting for life itself. We live inside a prison of our own making, a prison constructed from psychological time. This prison has two walls, seemingly solid, that keep us from the freedom of the present. One wall is the past, and the other is the future. Let us examine the first wall, the wall of the past. It is built from the heavy bricks of regret, resentment, guilt, and nostalgia. Your mind, like a tireless curator in a museum of sorrow, constantly takes you on tours of this section. It forces you to look at old photographs of failure, to listen to recordings of painful words, to reread letters of betrayal. And here is the crucial mechanism. When your attention is on a past event, your body does not know it is the past. It releases the very same chemicals, triggers the very same neural pathways, and generates the very same emotional state as if the event were happening right now. When you dwell on an old argument, your heart rate increases and your muscles tense now. When you swim in a sea of regret over a past decision, you feel the sickness of that regret in the pit of your stomach now. You are not just remembering pain, you are recreating it. You are voluntarily drinking a small dose of poison every time you allow your consciousness to be dragged back into a story that is finished. The past is a library of reference, not a house to live in. By constantly residing there, you are allowing dead moments to dictate the energy of the only moment that is alive. The second wall of the prison is the future. This wall is not solid. It is a shimmering, deceptive mirage. It is woven from the threads of anxiety, worry, and endless what-if scenarios. The mind is a brilliant fiction generator, and its favorite genre is horror. It projects 1,000 possible negative futures, and it forces you to emotionally experience each one. You lay awake at night, your body coursing with adrenaline, preparing for a confrontation that has not happened. You feel the dread of a financial loss that is only a possibility. You experience the loneliness of a rejection that exists only in your imagination. You are fighting phantoms, and you are exhausting your precious life force in these imaginary battles. Your energy, which could be used to create, to heal, to build in the present, is squandered on defending against shadows. The great deception of this prison is the belief that salvation lies on the other side of these walls. The mind tells you, I will be happy when I get the promotion, or I can relax once this problem is solved, or life would be perfect if only that past event had been different. Happiness and peace become a perpetually deferred destination, always just out of reach, in a future that never arrives or a past that can never be changed. This is the tyranny of psychological time. It is a constant state of resisting what is in favor of what was or what might be. But how do you escape? You cannot fight your way out. You cannot think your way out, for the mind is the architect of the prison itself. The key to liberation is not in the mind. The key is in your body. Your mind can travel to the 1990s or to the year 2050 in an instant. Your body cannot. Your body is forever, unchangeably, anchored in the now. Your breath is only ever happening now. The feeling of the ground beneath your feet is now. The sounds entering your ears are now. The body is your portal out of the prison of thought and into the reality of being. The core message, the wisdom echoed by sages throughout history, is this: your entire life force, your power to choose, to act, to create, to heal, exists only and exclusively in the present moment. It is not in yesterday's regrets or tomorrow's fears. It is here, now. Think of your life as a river. The past is the wake that trails behind your boat. It shows where you have been, but it has no power to propel or steer you. To stare at the wake is to miss the journey. The future is the distant horizon, a direction you might be heading, but it is an abstraction. You cannot sail on the horizon. You can only sail on the river that is directly beneath you, in this very moment. To live like the river is to be in a state of constant renewal, forever fresh, forever present. You cannot step in the same river twice, and you cannot live the same moment twice. So why do we try? Why do we pollute the fresh living water of the now with the stale water of yesterday? The practice, then, is to become an anchor. It is to repeatedly, gently, and lovingly bring your wandering attention back home to the body. When you find yourself lost in anxious thoughts about the future, bring your focus to the soles of your feet. Feel their connection to the earth. Feel the solid, dependable reality of the ground. That feeling is real. Your fearful thoughts are not. When you feel the pull of an old resentment, bring your focus to your breath. Don't change it. Just feel the simple, miraculous sensation of air entering your nostrils, filling your lungs, and then leaving your body. That breath is life, happening now. The resentment is a ghost. These are not grand, complicated meditations. These are micro-portals to freedom that you can access in any instant. While waiting in a line, feel the sensation of your hands. While in a difficult meeting, listen not just to the words, but to the silence between the words. When you are overwhelmed, go outside and find one object from nature, a leaf, a stone, a cloud. Look at it as if you have never seen it before. Observe its texture, its color, its form, without labeling it. In that moment of pure observation, the chattering mind falls silent. You have escaped. You have come home to the now. Freedom is not a future event. It is a present moment awareness. In the space of the now, anxiety cannot survive, for anxiety is made of the future. In the space of the now, resentment cannot breathe, for resentment is made of the past. The present moment is a sanctuary. It is the only place you can access your true power. And from this place of centered, present moment power, you are finally positioned to take the next step. You are no longer paralyzed by the past or the future. You are here. And from here, you can begin to lay the foundation of a new life, not with grand, sweeping gestures, but with the profound discipline of small, consistent actions. You have found your anchor in the sanctuary of the now. You have discovered that this present moment is the only place where life happens, the only point from which your power can be wielded. This is a profound revelation. But a question naturally arises from this stillness. What do you do with this power? How do you translate the peace of the present into tangible change in your life? The answer lies in one of the most misunderstood and resisted concepts in human development: discipline. And the path to this discipline is paved not with grand, heroic leaps, but with the quiet dignity of small, consistent actions. We live in a culture that worships the quantum leap. We are sold the fantasy of overnight success, the dramatic breakthrough, the lottery win that changes everything in an instant. We celebrate the before and after photo, but we ignore the 1,000 unglamorous days that connect the two. This obsession with instant transformation is a subtle trap. It causes us to devalue the power of the small. We think, what's the point of meditating for 5 minutes? It won't make me enlightened. What's the use of reading one page? It won't make me wise. Why go for a walk when I can't run a marathon? And so, in waiting for the perfect moment or the monumental motivation to arrive, we do nothing at all. This creates a painful internal conflict. There is the impatient ego, the part of you that wants immediate gratification. It gets fired up with a burst of enthusiasm, commits to a radical new life plan, and burns out after 3 days because it doesn't see dramatic results. It looks in the mirror, expecting to see a completely new person, and, seeing the same familiar face, declares the entire endeavor a failure. Then there is the quiet, wise self, the part of you that understands the rhythms of nature. This self knows that the strongest oak tree grew from a tiny acorn, not overnight, but through the patient, daily process of drawing nutrients from the soil and reaching for the sun. It knows that the deepest canyon was carved not by a single violent cataclysm, but by the steady, relentless flow of a river over millennia. The impatient ego seeks an event. The wise self trusts a process. To find freedom, you must learn to align with the wisdom of the process. It is time to completely reframe the word discipline. In our minds, it is often tangled with notions of punishment, rigidity, and joyless self-denial. This is a false definition. True discipline is not a prison. It is the architect of your freedom. It is the ultimate act of self-love. It is you, in this present moment, making a choice that your future self will thank you for. It is the bridge you consciously build between the person you are today and the person you aspire to be. Think of a vine. Without a trellis, it grows chaotically along the ground, tangled and unable to reach the light. The trellis does not restrict the vine. It provides the structure necessary for the vine to fulfill its upward potential. Discipline is your trellis. It provides the gentle, supportive structure within which your growth can gracefully unfold. It is the conscious, loving choice to do the thing that serves your highest good, especially when you don't feel like it. This brings us to the core message. Your transformation will not be born from a single seismic shift. It will be assembled, piece by piece, through the cumulative power of your small daily choices. The metaphor to hold in your heart is that of water dripping on a stone. A single drop of water is the epitome of gentleness, of insignificance. It lands on the hard granite and seems to vanish without a trace. 100 drops achieve nothing. 1,000 drops make no visible difference. The impatient mind would give up, declaring the task impossible. But let the drops continue, one after another, with steady, unhurried persistence, day after day, year after year. Eventually, the impossible happens. The water, through its gentle consistency, wears a hole in the stone. It achieves through persistence what it could never achieve through force. Your small daily actions are these drops of water. Each one may seem insignificant on its own, but compounded over time, their power is immense, unstoppable, and transformative. So what is the practical application? It is to make the act of showing up so ridiculously easy that you cannot say no. This is the power of the 2-minute rule. Whatever new habit you wish to cultivate, scale it down to a 2-minute version. Do you want to become a person who meditates? Don't commit to 30 minutes. Commit to sitting in silence for 2 minutes a day. Do you want to be a reader? Don't commit to a book a week. Commit to reading 1 page a day. Do you want to get fit? Don't commit to an hour at the gym. Commit to putting on your workout clothes and doing 2 minutes of stretching. The point is not the outcome of the 2 minutes. The point is to become the type of person who shows up. You are not trying to achieve enlightenment or finish a book. You are casting a vote for a new identity. Each time you sit for 2 minutes, you are casting a vote that says, I am a person who meditates. Each time you choose water over soda, you are casting a vote for I am a person who nourishes their body. These small votes, these tiny victories, build the muscle of consistency. They build self-trust. You are proving to yourself, drop by drop, that you are someone who follows through. Each of these small, consistent actions is a brick, Each time you choose the new path over the old familiar one, you are laying another brick in the foundation of a new you. One brick is just a brick, but over time, these bricks form a wall. The walls form a room. The rooms form a house. And one day, you will look around and realize you have built an entirely new inner structure, a new home for your consciousness. It was not built in a day. It was built with the discipline of one small, loving choice, repeated again and again. You are the architect and the builder of your own inner temple. There is no grand secret beyond this. It is the humble, steadfast, day-by-day work of laying one brick perfectly. This is the path of the master. As you continue this patient work, laying brick upon brick, you will begin to notice that the old, dilapidated shack of your former self starts to feel increasingly uncomfortable and foreign. You have outgrown it. And the next essential step in this journey of transformation is to find the courage to let that old structure fall, to lovingly let go of the person you used to be so that the new one can fully emerge. You have been so diligent. You have anchored yourself in the power of the now. You have learned to wield your attention as a sacred tool, and you have committed to the discipline of small, consistent actions. You have been laying the bricks, one by one, building the foundation of a new inner home. But as this new structure rises, a question of physics and spirit arises. What happens to the old one? What becomes of the person you used to be? The truth is, you cannot build a new house on the exact same spot where an old one stands without the old one first coming down. The transformation you are undergoing is not a simple renovation. It is not about adding a new room or applying a fresh coat of paint to the old you. It is a complete demolition and reconstruction, and this requires the courage to let the old self die. This sentence may sound stark, even frightening, but this is not a death to be feared. It is a death to be honored. It is the natural, beautiful, and necessary shedding of a skin you have outgrown. This old self was not your enemy. For years, it was your protector. It was a complex suit of armor you forged in the fires of your past experiences. Every limiting belief, I'm not good enough, every defensive reaction, lashing out in anger when you feel hurt, every coping mechanism, numbing yourself with distraction, was a piece of that armor. It was designed with a single purpose: to keep you safe, to prevent you from feeling the full force of pain, rejection, or failure. And you must acknowledge, it did its job according to its design. It got you here. But the armor that protects a child will suffocate a man or a woman. The strategies that helped you survive a painful past are the very things that now prevent you from thriving in the present. The armor has become a cage. Letting the old self die is the process of lovingly, deliberately unbuckling that armor piece by piece and setting it aside. This process is not a battle, it is a funeral. It is an act of sacred grief. You must allow yourself to mourn the person you are leaving behind. This sounds strange, for why would you mourn a self you wish to move beyond? You mourn because it was familiar. You mourn because, even in its dysfunction, there was a strange comfort in its predictability. You knew exactly how it would react, what it would fear, how it would fail. There are parts of that old self you may even have been fond of, perhaps its ability to please others or its reckless abandon. To pretend this loss is not significant is to create an inner conflict. You must give yourself permission to feel a strange mix of sadness and relief, of fear and exhilaration. It is okay to thank that old self for its service, to feel compassion for its wounds and its fears, and to simultaneously recognize that its time is over. This compassionate grieving prevents you from treating a part of yourself as an enemy to be violently suppressed. You are not killing a villain. You are lovingly retiring a guardian whose watch has ended. The central conflict at this stage is the temptation to bargain. The ego, fearing its own dissolution, will try to negotiate. It will say, Okay, I'll let go of my anxiety, but I'm keeping my cynicism. It keeps me from being disappointed. Or, I'll stop criticizing others, but I need to keep my harsh inner critic. It keeps me motivated. This is the desire to be both the caterpillar and the butterfly. It is the desire for transformation without the discomfort of true change. You want to fly, but you also want to keep your familiar, crawling legs, just in case. But the laws of metamorphosis are absolute. A partial death is not possible. The old cannot be integrated into the new. It must become the raw material for it. Here we must turn to the most powerful metaphor for this process, the chrysalis. A caterpillar, having eaten its fill, does not simply sprout wings. It seals itself into a tomb, and inside that chrysalis, a terrifying and miraculous process occurs. The caterpillar's body completely dissolves. It doesn't just change, it disintegrates into a nutrient-rich primordial soup. All structure is lost. It is a complete surrender of form, a descent into chaos and nothingness. This is the part of the journey we resist the most, the messy, confusing, in-between stage, where you are no longer the old you, but not yet the new you. It can feel like you are falling apart, like you are losing your mind. But hidden within that cellular soup are things called imaginal discs. These are the blueprints, the seeds of the butterfly that were dormant within the caterpillar all along. And from that surrendered, dissolved state, these discs begin to organize the chaos, drawing from the nutrient soup to build the eyes, the legs, the antennae, and the magnificent wings of the butterfly. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly. The caterpillar must utterly cease to exist for the butterfly to be born from its very substance. This is what is happening within you. The daily practice of dying is choosing the imaginal disc over the caterpillar's habit. Every time you are faced with a trigger, and you choose to pause and breathe instead of automatically reacting, the old reactive self dissolves a little more, and the new conscious self is built. Every time you feel the pull of an old addiction, and you choose to feel the discomfort instead of numbing it, a part of the old self dies, and the resilient new self is nourished. These are the tiny funerals you attend every day. They are sacred moments of choosing freedom over familiarity. Honor them. When you make a new choice, pause for a second and acknowledge it. The old me would have gossiped. The new me chooses silence. I honor this passing. To make this ritual tangible, I invite you to perform a simple but profound practice. Take a pen and paper and write a farewell letter to your old self. Treat it as a real entity, a companion who is now departing on a journey. Start by thanking it. Write, "Thank you for protecting me when I was vulnerable. Thank you for getting me through the hard times." Acknowledge its fears. I know you were afraid of being rejected, of not being enough. I understand why you built these walls. Then, with love and firmness, state your intention to release it. Your service is complete. I am strong enough now to live without this armor. I release you with gratitude and love. You might even list the specific habits or beliefs you are letting go of. Finally, say goodbye. This act of writing crystallizes the process. It gives form to the grief and finality to the choice. It is a line drawn in the sand, a conscious rite of passage you create for yourself. This death is not a void. It is the creation of a sacred emptiness, the tilling of the soil of your soul. You have cleared the land, honored what came before, and now stand on fertile ground. And from this place of surrender, a new question arises. Not, what do I become? But, what do I now allow to grow? You have walked through the sacred fire of transformation. You have stood on the holy ground where your old self was lovingly laid to rest. And now, you stand in a clearing. The space, once filled with the dense undergrowth of old habits, fears, and limitations, is now open. This openness is a sacred potential, a tilled and fertile field waiting for life. But what is the nature of the gardener now? The old gardener, the one who has just departed, operated through force, through struggle, through anxious striving. It believed that growth could only happen through sheer effort and relentless control. The new gardener, the emerging you, is invited to learn a different, more graceful way. This is the art of allowing. It is the gentle rain that nourishes the newly cleared field, a stark contrast to the toil and sweat that came before. It is the exhale you have been waiting your entire life to take. For most of your life, you have been operating under the tyranny of control. The ego, your former guardian, believes in a hostile or at best indifferent universe. It believes that you are a tiny separate entity struggling against overwhelming odds. Its core belief is, if I don't manage every single detail, if I don't force every outcome, if I don't control every person and situation, everything will fall apart. And so you have lived with your hands clenched, your jaw tight, your shoulders braced for impact. You have been the micromanager of your own life, trying to plan for every contingency, trying to bend reality to your will. Think of the sheer, bone-deep exhaustion of this way of living. It is like trying to hold a handful of water by squeezing it as hard as you can. The more you clench, the more it slips through your fingers. This constant effort, this desperate need to control, creates immense resistance. It is you, paddling your tiny boat with all your might against a powerful, invisible current, wondering why you are so tired and why you are getting nowhere. The internal conflict at this stage is between the ego's terror of losing control and the soul's deep, intuitive trust in the flow of life. Your inner manager screams in protest at the mere suggestion of letting go. Surrender? That's just a pretty word for giving up. If I let go of the oars, the boat will smash against the rocks. If I stop striving, I will become lazy and apathetic, and nothing will ever get done. It equates allowing with passivity and defeat. But your inner sage, the quiet, wise part of you that has been waiting patiently to be heard, knows a deeper truth. It knows that you are not separate from the river of life. You are a part of it. It knows that the universe is not a hostile force to be conquered, but an intelligent, benevolent system to be co-created with. The inner manager's mantra is, I must make it happen. The inner sage's mantra is, I will let it happen. This is not a passive statement. It is the highest form of active trust. It is crucial to understand that allowing is not laziness. It is not apathy. It is not sitting on your sofa and expecting success to fall into your lap. That is abdication. Allowing is a dynamic, high-frequency state of being. It is a dance of co-creation. You do your part, and you allow the universe to do its. You plant the seed with focused intention and disciplined action, the work you learned in the previous stages. You till the soil, you sow the seed, you water it with your attention. But then you release the outcome. You do not dig up the seed every day to see if it is growing. You do not shout at the sky, demanding that the sun shine at a specific angle for a specific duration. You trust the process. You do your part with presence and excellence, and then you open your hands and release your white-knuckled grip on the how, the when, and the what of the outcome. You trust that a wisdom far greater than your egos is now at work. The most potent metaphor for this is a person in water. Imagine you fall out of a boat. If you panic, if you believe you have to fight the water to survive, you will begin to flail. You will splash, gasp, and expend all of your energy struggling against the very element that could support you. This desperate, frantic struggle is the energy of control. It is exhausting, and it will inevitably pull you under. Now, imagine a different response. Instead of panicking, you remember the nature of water. You take a breath, you relax your body, and you lean back, trusting the water to hold you. You float. The water is the same. The circumstances are the same. The only thing that has changed is your relationship to it, from one of struggle to one of trust. Life is this water. Allowing is the art of floating. You are not doing nothing. You are doing the most intelligent thing possible. You are conserving your energy and aligning yourself with the fundamental properties of the reality you are in. You are letting life support you. The practical application of this art is a conscious act of release. It is a daily ritual. After you have done your parsant, the email, had the conversation, done your 2 minutes of meditation, you must practice the sacred pause. You can close your eyes, take a deep breath and say, either out loud or to yourself, a simple mantra of release. I have done my part to the best of my ability. I now release the need to control the outcome. I trust the process. I am open to receiving good in whatever form it comes. As you say these words, notice what happens in your body. Feel your shoulders drop away from your ears. Feel your jaw unclench. Feel the knot in your stomach loosen. This is the physical sensation of moving from control to allowing. You are shifting from the frequency of force to the frequency of flow. When you begin to live in this state of allowing, the world begins to change around you, or rather, your perception of it does. You start to notice synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences that feel like a wink from the universe. The right person calls at the right time. You stumble upon an article that answers a question you were just pondering. Solutions appear from unexpected places. You feel less like a warrior battling through life and more like a dancer moving with a partner. This is the sign that you have stopped swimming against the current and have turned around to flow with it. This grace is not something you have earned. It is something you have simply allowed. You have opened the door for it. This state of open, receptive trust creates a quiet space within you. The frantic noise of the inner manager begins to subside. And in that newfound silence, you begin to hear something else, a subtle whisper, a gentle nudge, a quiet knowing that seems to rise from your very core. This is your inner compass, your soul's GPS. And learning to tune into this voice, to trust its guidance, is the next great privilege of your journey. In the profound quiet you have cultivated, in the open and receptive space created by the art of allowing, a new faculty begins to awaken. It has always been there, but its voice was drowned out by the static of your striving, the shouting of your fears, and the incessant chatter of your controlling mind. Now, in the stillness, you can begin to hear it. It is a subtle signal, a quiet hum beneath the noise of the world. It is the whisper of your own inner wisdom, your intuition. This is not something you need to acquire. It is something you must learn to listen to again. It is a homecoming to the most trustworthy guide you will ever have. For your entire life, you have been expertly trained to look for answers outside of yourself. From your earliest days, you were taught to trust the authority of the teacher, the wisdom of the book, the expertise of the doctor, the guidance of society. You were taught to make decisions using logic, to create pro and con lists, to gather data, and to analyze facts. These are valuable tools, the tools of the mind, but they are only half of the equation. In this relentless focus on the external and the intellectual, you were subtly taught to distrust, and eventually to ignore, the quiet, unerring compass that exists within your very own being. You learned to value the loud opinion of the world over the silent knowing of your own soul. This has created a deep and painful internal conflict, a schism between your mind and your spirit. The voice of the logical mind is loud, articulate, and often anxious. It speaks in full sentences. It debates with itself. It brings up past evidence. It catastrophizes about the future. It can argue any point with relentless circular reasoning. It demands proof. It requires certainty, and it is terrified of the unknown. Its arguments always sound so sensible. Then there is the voice of intuition. It is quiet. It is often non-verbal. It does not debate or justify itself. It is a simple, direct knowing. It manifests not as a well-reasoned argument, but as a feeling, a gut feeling, a sudden sense of peace about one path, a heavy feeling of dread about another, a spontaneous aha moment that arrives in the shower when you are not even thinking about the problem. The mind says, "This job offer makes sense. It pays more, it has better benefits, it looks good on my resume. I should take it." But the intuition, your inner wisdom, simply whispers a heavy, sinking feeling in your chest, a quiet, firm no. The conflict is choosing which voice to trust, the loud, sensible argument of the mind, or the quiet, inexplicable feeling of the soul. The core message here is that your intuition is your birthright, your direct line to a higher intelligence, and it speaks a language that you must learn to decode. It does not speak in your native tongue. It speaks in the universal language of energy and feeling. One of its primary dialects is the language of expansion and contraction. When a choice, a person, or a situation is in alignment with your true path, it will feel expansive in your body. This can manifest as a feeling of lightness, openness, excitement, or a deep sense of peace. Your body feels like it is saying yes. When something is out of alignment, it will feel contractive. This can be a feeling of heaviness, tightness in your chest or stomach, a sense of dread, or just a dull, flat feeling of no. Your intuition is also expressed through symbols in dreams and synchronicities in your waking life, those meaningful coincidences that confirm a path or provide a missing piece of the puzzle. To hear this language, you must be willing to quiet the mind. The mind is a tool, not the master. Its job is to analyze and execute, but it is not equipped to navigate the subtle currents of the soul's journey. The perfect metaphor for this is the master sailor. A novice sailor learns to read maps, to use a compass and GPS, and to follow the rules. These are the tools of the intellect. They are essential. But if a sudden thick fog rolls in and the technology fails, the novice is lost and terrified. The master sailor, however, has not only mastered the tools, but has also cultivated an intimate, felt relationship with the sea itself. She uses the maps and the compass, but she also feels the subtle shift of the wind on her cheek. She reads the story in the color of the water and the pattern of the waves. She understands the language of the clouds and the birds. Her knowledge is not just in her head, it is in her bones. She has integrated her intellect with her intuition. This is your goal: to become the master sailor of your own life, to honor your brilliant mind as a navigator, but to trust your intuition as your true north, your ultimate compass. So, how do you practice this in a tangible way? You begin by consulting your body when making a decision, big or small. Go beyond the pro and con list. Find a quiet space and take a few deep breaths to still your mind. Then, hold one of your options in your awareness. Let's say it is option ADO, not analyze it. Simply bring the idea of it into your being and ask your body, what does this feel like? Then listen, not with your ears, but with your entire sensory field. Do you feel a sense of tightening in your gut, a heaviness in your shoulders, or do you feel a sense of your chest opening up, a feeling of lightness, a subtle current of excitement? Be a neutral observer of these sensations. Then, let go of option A completely. Take a cleansing breath. Now, hold option B in your awareness and repeat the process. Feel into its energetic signature. What is its felt sense in your body? More often than not, the answer will be clear. One path will feel expansive and resonant, the other will feel contractive and dissonant. Your intuition has spoken. The path that feels lighter is the path of least resistance, the path of your authentic flow, even if your logical mind cannot comprehend why. Building trust in this inner guidance system is a practice. Start with small, low-stakes decisions. Should I turn left or right on this walk? Should I reach out to that old friend today? Follow the intuitive nudge that feels lighter and more expansive, and then pay attention to the results. As you see that these small nudges lead to positive, synchronous, or simply more joyful outcomes, you build a foundation of trust. You are creating a new neural pathway, a pathway of self-trust that has been dormant for years. You are learning that there is a wisdom within you that is older and deeper than your conditioned personality. This wisdom is not magical, it is your natural state. You are simply remembering how to listen. You are turning the volume down on the world so you can finally hear the whisper of your own soul. And you will come to find that the clearest, most immediate and most honest transmissions from this inner wisdom are broadcast directly through the instrument of your physical body. It is the resonant chamber of your soul, the compass itself. You have begun to tune the dial of your awareness, shifting from the loud static of the world to the quiet, steady signal of your inner wisdom. You have learned that this intuition speaks not in words, but in feelings, in a language of expansion and contraction. But where is this language felt? Where is the signal received and made tangible? The answer is not in your head. The answer is the very ground of your being, the vessel that carries you through this life, the instrument you have been taught to ignore, medicate, and push beyond its limits. The signal of your soul is received by your body. Your body is the resonant chamber. It is the soundboard that vibrates with the music of your intuition. It is your ultimate compass. For too long, we have treated our bodies as inconvenient machines. We see them as vehicles to be fueled with caffeine, disciplined with exercise, and silenced with painkillers when they dare to complain. We live in our heads, treating our physical form as a separate, lesser entity that must be dragged along through the agenda of our ambitious minds. This is the great disconnect that has caused so much suffering. It is time to come home to your body and recognize it for what it truly is: a sacred, intelligent, living archive, and the most honest friend you will ever have. Your body does not know how to lie. While your mind can construct elaborate stories, justifications, and denials, your body holds the simple, unvarnished truth. It is a living record of every experience you have ever had. Every moment of joy is stored in the memory of your cells, creating a sense of openness and ease. And every unresolved emotion, every trauma, every moment of fear you suppressed and pushed down is also stored there. That chronic tightness in your shoulders is not just the result of poor posture, it is the physical manifestation of the burdens you have been carrying for years. That persistent knot in your stomach is not just a digestive issue, it is the stored energy of unprocessed anxiety. The headache that appears every time you have to deal with a certain person is not a random occurrence, it is a clear signal of energetic misalignment. Your body keeps the score, and its aches, pains, and illnesses are not punishments. They are messages. They are the loving, desperate attempts of your deeper self to get your attention, to communicate a truth that your conscious mind is refusing to see. This creates a constant internal conflict between the agenda of the mind and the truth of the body. The mind says, "We have to finish this project, push through the exhaustion." The body responds by slowing down, by making you feel heavy and unfocused, a clear whisper that you are nearing burnout. The mind says, "Don't be afraid, there is nothing to worry about," while the body trembles and the heart beats fast, honestly communicating that it perceives a threat. We are taught to praise the mind's ability to override the body, to push through the pain. We call it mental toughness. But more often than not, it is an act of self-violence. It is the act of ignoring a vital feedback system. The practice you are invited into now is not one of mind over matter, but of mind in partnership with matter. It is the practice of learning to listen to your body's whispers so that it does not have to scream. The core message is this: your body is an infinitely intelligent biofeedback system, constantly communicating its state of harmony or disharmony. Your job is not to silence it, but to learn its language. The most powerful metaphor for this is the dashboard of a car. When the fuel light comes on, you do not get angry at the light. You do not cover it with a piece of tape and pretend it is not there. You do not yell at it to turn off. You receive its message with gratitude. You say, "Thank you for this information," and you take the appropriate action. You find a gas station. The sensations in your body, fatigue, anxiety, tension, pain, are your dashboard lights. They are not the problem. They are the indicators of the problem. Fatigue is the fuel light. Anxiety is the engine warning light. Chronic pain is the signal that the alignment is off and you are wearing down the tires. To treat these signals with anger, frustration, or dismissal is to fundamentally misunderstand their compassionate purpose. They are here to guide you back to balance. The practical application for learning this language is the simple, profound act of a body scan. This is a listening tour of your own physical being. Find 10 or 15 minutes where you can lie down and be undisturbed. The goal is not to fix, change, or even relax anything. The goal is simply to listen with loving, non-judgmental awareness. Close your eyes and bring your full attention to the toes on your left foot. Just feel them. What sensations are present? Warmth, cold, tingling, numbness, pressure. There is no right or wrong answer. You are simply noticing what is already there. Then, slowly, move your attention up your foot to your ankle, your shin, your knee, your thigh, giving each part a moment of your undivided, kind attention. Do the same for the right leg. Then move through your pelvis, your abdomen, your lower back. When you come to an area of tightness or pain, resist the urge to fight it or force it to relax. Instead, do something radical. Breathe into it. Imagine your breath is warm, spacious, and filled with compassion, and send it directly to that tense spot, as if to say, "I hear you. I am with you. Thank you for this message." You are not trying to make the sensation go away. You are making friends with it. You are replacing resistance with acceptance. Continue this scan up through your chest, your shoulders, down your arms to your fingertips, up through your neck and your face, to the very top of your head. When you finish, you may not have fixed anything, but you will have performed a revolutionary act. You will have inhabited your body, perhaps for the first time. You will have treated it not as an object, but as a conscious, intelligent partner. This practice, done regularly, will transform your relationship with yourself. You will become more grounded, more present. You will start to notice the subtle signals long before they become screams. You will learn to identify the yes of an open chest and the no of a tight stomach. Your body becomes the anchor that keeps you firmly in the reality of the present moment. It is the compass needle that quivers and points towards your truth, unfailingly. It is not a barrier to your spiritual life. It is the sacred vessel for it. By learning to reside fully within this vessel, you dissolve the illusion of separation between your mind and your body. You become whole. And from this place of inner wholeness, you begin to perceive the world differently. You start to see that the same life, the same consciousness that animates you, also animates everyone and everything else. You are ready to look beyond yourself and recognize yourself in others. Having learned to listen to the whispers of your inner world, to the subtle and profound intelligence of your own body, a new perception begins to dawn. You have cultivated an inner sensitivity, a quiet space within the storm. Now, we turn that gaze outward, not with the old eyes of judgment, but with this newfound awareness. You may have noticed that as your inner world shifts, the outer world seems to respond in kind. But the most profound shift, the one that truly accelerates your liberation, occurs when you begin to see the truth of yourself in the faces of everyone you meet. This is the practice of recognizing yourself in others. The feeling of being stuck is a profoundly isolating experience. It builds a fortress around you, And from within its walls, the ego whispers a convincing and seductive lie that your pain is unique, your struggle is singular, your particular brand of suffering is unlike any other. There is a strange comfort in this belief. It makes you special. It gives you an identity, however painful. You become the protagonist in a tragic story, and the world is populated by characters who simply do not and cannot understand. This sense of separation is the very architecture of the prison. It is what keeps you trapped, fueling resentment, loneliness, and the feeling that you are fighting your battles alone. But this is an illusion, a masterfully crafted story by a mind that fears its own dissolution. The truth is, your struggle is the human struggle. Your heartbreak, your fear, your longing, your confusion, these are not unique to you. They are ancient currents that run through the collective soul of humanity. The person who cuts you off in traffic, the colleague who dismisses your idea, the family member who seems incapable of seeing your worth, the stranger on the street whose expression seems cold and distant. What if you saw them not as adversaries, but as mirrors? This is a radical shift in perception. The mind, conditioned for survival, is built to categorize, to judge, to separate me from them. This is useful for navigating the physical world, but it is a disaster for the soul. The spiritual journey asks us to dissolve these categories. It asks us to look at the person who irritates us the most and have the courage to ask a terrifyingly honest question. What part of me is this person reflecting back to me? The emotional charge you feel towards another person, that jolt of anger, that sting of judgment, that wave of indignationis, a sacred signal. It is a homing beacon. It does not, in truth, tell you very much about them. It tells you everything about you. It points with unerring accuracy to an unhealed, unacknowledged, or unloved part of your own being. The arrogance you despise in someone else might be a reflection of a deep-seated insecurity within you, a fear that you are not enough. The laziness you can't stand in another could be the mirror to your own relentless inner critic that never allows you to rest, a part of you that is screaming for stillness. The victimhood you see in someone that fills you with disdain, could it be touching upon your own suppressed feelings of powerlessness? This is not a comfortable inquiry. It is far easier to project blame outward, to make the other person the sole source of the problem. That maintains the fortress of the self, but it also keeps you in your cell. To engage with this question is to begin dismantling the prison, brick by painful brick. It is the beginning of taking radical responsibility for your own energy, your own state of being. Consider the ocean. Stand on the shore and you see 1,000, 1,000,000 separate waves. Some are large and crashing, some are small and gentle. They rise and fall, seemingly in conflict with one another. They appear to be individual entities, each with its own momentary life and death. This is the level of the ego, the surface of reality, where we all live our separate lives, judging each other as separate waves. But what is a wave? Is it truly separate from the ocean? Or is it simply the ocean itself, expressing itself in a temporary form? Beneath the turbulent surface, there is only one vast, deep, silent body of water. All waves are born from it, and all waves return to it. They are, and always have been, one and the same thing. This is the truth of humanity. We are the waves. Each person you meet, with their unique story, their flaws, their beauty, their pain, is a wave on the same ocean of consciousness that you are. Their anger is the ocean's anger. Their joy is the ocean's joy. Their suffering is your suffering, expressed in a different form. When you judge a wave for being too loud or too small, or for crashing in the wrong way, you are forgetting that you too are the ocean. You are judging a manifestation of your own being. This understanding moves you from judgment to compassion. Compassion is not pity. Pity maintains separation. It looks down from a perceived height. Compassion is resonance. It is the recognition of shared being. It is looking at another and seeing, you are me and I am you. Your struggle is my struggle, dressed in different clothes. This does not mean you must condone harmful behavior. You can still have boundaries. You can still choose not to engage with people who drain your energy. The ocean does not command every wave to crash on the same shore, but the inner posture changes entirely. The bitterness dissolves. The heavy weight of resentment, which is the poison you drink hoping the other person will suffer, begins to lose its grip. You realize that holding a grudge against another is like one wave holding a grudge against another for being made of the same water. It is a profound and painful absurdity. Let this become your practice. The next time you feel that familiar spark of judgment towards someone, pause. Do not react. Do not speak. Simply bring your awareness inward. Feel the energy of the judgment in your body. Where is it? In your chest, your throat, your stomach? Acknowledge it without shame. Ah, there is the energy of judgment. Then, with quiet curiosity, ask the question, what is this person showing me about myself? What unhealed story within me is this person's behavior activating? Stay with the question. You don't need an immediate intellectual answer. The answer will come as a feeling, a memory, a subtle shift in your perception. In that moment of inquiry, the other person ceases to be your enemy. They become your teacher. They are offering you a priceless gift, a glimpse into your own shadow, a map to a part of yourself that is asking for healing and integration. When you see this, true gratitude can arise, even for the most difficult people in your life. They are the sandpaper, smoothing your rough edges. They are the pressure, turning your coal into a diamond. As you practice this, you will notice the world around you begin to soften. The constant inner monologue of criticism directed at others begins to quiet down, and as it does, the inner critic that assails you also loses its power. You cannot be truly compassionate with others until you are compassionate with yourself, and you cannot be truly compassionate with yourself until you see yourself in others. The two are inextricably linked. This is how the illusion of separation heals. You start to feel a sense of kinship, not just with people you like, but with everyone. You see the fear behind the anger, the pain behind the cruelty, the longing for love behind the closed-off heart. You see that everyone, in their own way, is just trying to find their way home, just as you are. This realization is a profound homecoming. It is the understanding that liberates you from the heaviest burden of all, the burden of being a separate self, fighting a lonely war against a hostile world. The war was only ever within, and by recognizing yourself in the eyes of your supposed enemy, you finally call a truce. This is the fertile ground from which true forgiveness can grow, not as an intellectual exercise, but as a natural consequence of seeing the world as it is, a reflection of one magnificent, unified self. From the quiet recognition that you are the ocean, not merely the wave, a new landscape of possibility unfolds within you. The inner truce you have called ceasing the war against your own reflection in others is the sacred ground upon which the most powerful act of self-liberation can be built. This act is forgiveness, but we must approach this word with care, for it has been draped in misunderstanding and misused as a tool of spiritual bypassing. We are not here to paper over deep wounds with hollow platitudes. We are here to perform a profound act of alchemy, to transform the lead weight of the past into the golden energy of the present moment. And the crucible for this transformation is a true, radical understanding of what it means to forgive. Let us first be clear about what forgiveness is not. It is not forgetting. The body remembers, the soul remembers. Forgiveness does not demand amnesia. It is not condoning. It is not making an excuse for harmful, cruel, or abusive behavior. It is not saying that what happened was acceptable. It is not weakness. It is not a passive surrender. And most importantly, it is not a gift you grudgingly bestow upon the person who hurt you. To believe so is to remain trapped in the very dynamic of the original pain, still seeing them as the one who holds power over your peace. The raw, undiluted truth is this: unforgiveness is a poison you drink yourself while waiting for the other person to die. It is an act of profound self-harm, masquerading as self-protection. Think of it as an energetic anchor. A past event, a betrayal, a cruelty occurs. It is painful, but the event itself is over. It exists now only as a memory, a story that you carry. Unforgiveness is the act of consciously or unconsciously reanimating that painful story every single day. You feed it your attention, you water it with your resentment, you give it shelter in your mind, and so, the ghost of yesterday is allowed to haunt the house of today, touching everything with its cold hand, dimming the light, souring the taste of present joys. It is a heavy, dense, low-frequency vibration that you choose to carry. It consumes immense amounts of your life force, energy that could be used to build, to create, to love, to experience peace. The person who harmed you may be living their life, entirely unaware of the torment you are putting yourself through. They are not affected by your inner turmoil. The only one trapped in the prison of the past is you. Here lies one of the most intense inner conflicts you will ever face. A part of you, the ego, clings to resentment with a fierce grip. It believes this anger is a shield. It whispers, "If I forgive, I am letting them off the hook. They will think they have won. This anger is all I have to protect me from being hurt again. My righteous indignation is justified." The ego defines itself by its stories, and the story of being wronged is one of the most powerful identities it can construct. It feels solid, real, validated, but beneath the noisy protest of the ego, there is a deeper intelligence, the quiet wisdom of your soul. It knows the truth. It feels the crushing weight of the resentment. It feels the life force being drained away. It knows that the shield of anger has become a cage. It understands that true power is not found in holding on to pain, but in the courage to let it go. This is the battle between the self that wants to be right and the self that wants to be free. You cannot be both. At its core, forgiveness is the ultimate act of self-love. It is a declaration of your own sovereignty. It is you looking at the past and saying with the full force of your being, "Your power over me is done. I will no longer allow what you did to define who I am today. I will no longer sacrifice the peace of my present moment at the altar of your past transgression. I am taking my energy back." Feel the power in those words. This is not about them. This is about you. This is you deciding to clean your own inner house, to sweep out the ashes and the dust of old grievances so that fresh air and new light can enter. You are not releasing the other person from their karmic debt. The universe is perfectly designed to handle that. You are releasing yourself from the burden of being their jailer, only to find that you were the one in the cell all along. The metaphor that has been passed down through ages is one of a person holding a burning coal, intending to throw it at their enemy. They wait for the perfect moment, their hand searing, their flesh burning, their focus entirely on the target. But the target has long since walked away. The only one being burned is the one holding the coal. Forgiveness is simply the moment of realizing this. It is the wisdom to unclench your fist and let the hot coal fall to the ground. The initial pain of the burn is there, yes, but the continuous, self-inflicted agony stops. That is the moment of liberation. But how? How do you simply drop a coal you have held for so long? It begins not with force, but with willingness. A willingness to be free that is even just 1% greater than your desire to be right. From this willingness, we can engage in a practice of profound healing. A simple yet powerful Hawaiian prayer of reconciliation called Ho'oponopono. It consists of 4 simple phrases. Find a quiet space. Bring to mind the person or situation that is the source of your unforgiveness. See them in your mind's eye, and then, speaking to the memory, to the energetic knot within you, you repeat these phrases. And most importantly, you must also direct them to yourself. The first phrase is, "I'm sorry." This is not an admission of guilt. It is an acknowledgement of the shared humanity of suffering. You are saying, "I am sorry that this pain exists between us. I am sorry for the part of my own consciousness that co-created or attracted this painful experience. I am sorry that I have carried this poison within me for so long." You are apologizing to your own soul for making it carry this burden. The second phrase is, "Please forgive me." Again, this is not groveling. You are asking for forgiveness from the universe, from your higher self, from life itself, for clinging to this low vibration energy, for allowing a painful memory to cloud your perception of reality and block the flow of love through you. It is a humble request to be cleansed of this inner poison. The third phrase is, "Thank you." This can be the hardest, yet it is the most transformative. What could you possibly be thankful for? You say thank you to the memory for showing you where you needed to heal. You say thank you to the experience for being a powerful teacher, for revealing to you this energetic chain that you now have the opportunity to break. You are grateful for the gift of awareness that this pain has brought you. And the final phrase is, "I love you." This is the healing balm. This is the highest frequency in the universe. You direct the energy of love at the memory. You direct it at the person. You direct it at the wounded part of yourself. Love is the ultimate solvent. It does not argue with the darkness. It simply shines, and the darkness dissolves in its presence. Repeat these 4 phrases over and over. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Feel them. Let them wash over the wound. You may feel resistance. You may feel anger. You may cry. Let it all come. You are cleaning the wound. This act of forgiveness unlocks a tremendous amount of energy that was previously trapped. The mental and emotional space that was occupied by replaying old hurts, plotting imaginary revenge, and nursing grievances is suddenly empty. This emptiness is not a void. It is fertile ground. It is pure potential. All the creative life force that was being funneled into maintaining the prison of the past is now returned to you, here in the present. This is the energy you will use to build your new reality. You have cleared the soil of the toxic weeds of resentment. You have put down the burning coal. Your hands are now free. Your energy is now yours. And with this reclaimed power, you are no longer the victim of your history. You are ready to become the conscious creator of your destiny. The sacred act of forgiveness has done more than simply heal a wound. It has created a space where the dense, heavy energy of resentment once stood. There is now a quiet, fertile emptiness. This is not the void of lack, but the void of pure potential. It is the silence between musical notes, the stillness from which all movement is born. You have cleared the debris of the past, not to live in an empty house, but to become the architect of a new home, built on foundations of awareness and freedom. You have labored as an archaeologist of your own soul, digging up buried artifacts of pain. Now your work changes. You are to become the artist, and your life is the canvas. This is the shift from reaction to creation, from being a product of your circumstances to becoming the conscious weaver of your reality. For most of your life, you were taught to see the world as something solid, separate, and external. Reality was something that happened to you. You were a ship tossed on the waves of fortune and fate, doing your best to navigate a world that was fundamentally outside of your control. This belief system is the source of all feelings of victimhood and powerlessness. But the great spiritual traditions and the frontiers of quantum science are now converging on a singular, staggering truth. The world is not separate from you. It is a mirror. Existence is one vast, intelligent, and responsive field of energy, and your personal reality is a direct reflection of your own inner state of being. The universe does not give you what you want with your mind. It gives you what you are with your soul. It mirrors your dominant frequency, your core beliefs, your deepest assumptions about yourself and the world. It has no choice. A mirror cannot reflect anything other than what stands before it. If you hold a deep, often unconscious, belief that you are not worthy of love, the mirror of the universe will faithfully reflect this back to you through people and circumstances that seem to withhold love. If you vibrate with the frequency of lack and scarcity, you will find evidence of it everywhere. If you live in a state of anxiety and fear, life will present you with endless things to be anxious and fearful about. This is not a punishment. It is physics. It is the law of resonance. You are an energetic tuning fork, and you are constantly drawing to you experiences that match your vibration. This is why positive thinking alone often fails. You cannot stick a happy thought on top of a deep-seated belief of unworthiness and expect the mirror to change. You must change the fundamental frequency. You must become, at the core of your being, the thing you wish to see in the reflection. Herein lies a new inner conflict. As you begin to embrace this power, the old conditioned mind will rise up in protest. The inner skeptic, armed with a lifetime of so-called evidence, will scream, "This is nonsense. This is magical thinking. Life is hard, the world is random, and you are deluding yourself." It will point to every past failure as proof that you are powerless. It will dismiss every new synchronicity as mere coincidence. This voice is loud because it is terrified. Your emerging power as a creator threatens its very existence, which is rooted in limitation and fear. But there is another voice that has been growing stronger within you. It is the voice of the inner seer, the intuitive self. This is the part of you that has noticed the changes. It has seen how an inner shift in perspective was followed by an outer opportunity. It has felt how a day started with genuine gratitude, unfolded with more ease and grace. It has witnessed the undeniable link between your inner state and your outer experience. The journey of conscious creation is the journey of learning to trust this quiet, knowing voice over the loud, fearful one. It is about trusting the growing evidence of your own experience over the outdated dogma of a world asleep. Imagine yourself as a master weaver sitting before a great loom. This loom is the present moment. The threads are your thoughts. The dyes that color these threads are your emotions. The master pattern you are following is the collection of your core beliefs. And the physical act of throwing the shuttle, of weaving the threads together, is your action in the world. Every moment of every day, you are weaving the tapestry of your life. For a long time, you were weaving in the dark. You were using tangled threads of fear, doubt, and shame, dyed in colors of anger and sadness, following a pattern of limitation passed down to you by others. You were weaving unconsciously, and then wondering why the resulting tapestry was so chaotic and dissatisfying. To become a conscious creator is to turn on the light. It is to deliberately choose your threads. It is to dip them in the vibrant dyes of love, joy, and peace. It is to examine the old, limiting patterns and decide to create a new one, a pattern of expansion, abundance, and well-being. You are the weaver. You have always been the weaver. The only change is that you are now weaving with intention, with awareness, with purpose. So how do we practice this conscious weaving? How do we embody a new reality before the mirror has had a chance to reflect it? We do it through the technology of imagination and the power of feeling. A powerful practice for this is called scripting. It is the art of writing your future, not as a distant wish, but as a present reality. You take a journal and you write about your ideal day, your ideal state of being, in the present tense, as if it has already happened and you are simply recording it. You do not write, "One day I will be happy and at peace." You write, "I am so grateful as I wake up this morning, feeling a profound sense of peace in my heart. A quiet joy radiates through my body as I drink my morning tea, looking out at the beautiful day. My work is fulfilling and creative, and I am surrounded by loving, supportive relationships that honor who I truly am." The key to this practice is not the words themselves, but the feeling they generate within you. As you write, you must allow yourself to feel it. Feel the peace, feel the joy, feel the gratitude. Engage all your senses. What does this reality look like? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? You are rehearsing a future possibility so completely that your subconscious mind and your body's nervous system cannot tell the difference between the imagined reality and a physical one. When you generate the feeling of having what you desire, you are changing your vibrational signature. You are becoming the tuning fork for that new reality. You are becoming the person who already lives that life, and the great mirror of the universe must, by law, begin to rearrange itself to reflect the new image you are presenting. You are no longer chasing a reality. You are calling it to you by becoming its energetic equivalent. This is the secret. You are not trying to manipulate the world outside. You are upgrading the blueprint within. You are the artist before the blank canvas, and you are finally realizing that you hold the brush and the palette. You have the power to choose the colors, to design the scene, to paint a masterpiece. This power, however, comes with a profound responsibility. A creator cannot be careless. A weaver who understands their craft knows that every single thread matters. Every thought, every word, every action is a thread you are weaving into your tapestry. This leads us to a deeper understanding of the fundamental law of creation, a law often misunderstood as a system of cosmic reward and punishment. To be a true master of your reality, you must understand the nature of the threads you are using. You must understand the unfailing law of cause and effect. You must understand karma, not as your fate, but as the very mechanism of your freedom. Having embraced your power as the weaver of your reality, you stand at a threshold of immense potential. The energy that was once bound up in resentment is now free. The inner space that was cluttered with the past is now clear. You have the threads, the dyes, and a new pattern in your heart. But a master weaver must understand the nature of their materials. A great artist must understand the fundamental laws of their craft. To consciously create your life, you must intimately understand the supreme law of the conscious universe. This law is known as karma. This single word has been the source of profound confusion, fear, and disempowerment. It has been twisted into a doctrine of inescapable fate, a cosmic system of reward and punishment wielded by an unseen judge. Many have been taught to believe that their present suffering is a sentence for unknown crimes committed in a forgotten past, leaving them feeling like helpless prisoners of a destiny they cannot change. This interpretation of karma is not a tool for liberation. It is an instrument of bondage. It is time to wipe the slate clean and understand this powerful principle in its pure, original, and empowering form. The word karma, from the ancient Sanskrit language, means one thing and one thing only: action. It does not mean fate. It does not mean punishment. It simply means action. This is the most liberating truth you can embrace. Karma is not a rigid destiny that has been set for you. Karma is the living, dynamic process of creation that you are engaged in with every breath. Every single thing you do is karma. Every thought that crosses your mind is an action, a subtle but potent, energetic cause set in motion. Every word you speak is an action, a vibration sent out into the world. Every physical deed you perform, from the smallest act of kindness to the largest life decision, is an action. Each one of these actions is a seed. And the law of karma is simply the universe's unfailing promise that you will, inevitably, experience the fruit of the seeds you have sown. This is not a moral law. It is a universal law, as impersonal and reliable as the law of gravity. The universe does not judge your seeds as good or bad. It simply provides the soil for them to grow and reflects the harvest back to you. Let us use the powerful metaphor of a farmer and their garden. Your consciousness is a vast and fertile garden. Your current life, in all its detail, your health, your relationships, your inner peace, your external circumstances is the present state of this garden. It is your current harvest. Now, look at this harvest with the neutral eyes of a wise farmer. If the garden is filled with thorns of conflict, weeds of confusion, and patches of dry, barren soil, the old view of karma would say, "You are a bad farmer, and this is your punishment." This leads to shame and despair. But the true understanding of karma invites a different perspective. A wise farmer does not condemn themselves for a poor harvest. Instead, they look at the thorns and say, "Ah, I see. I must have planted thorny seeds." They look at the weeds and understand, "I must have scattered seeds of confusion here." There is no judgment, only a clear recognition of cause and effect. The harvest is simply information. It is feedback. This is the most empowering realization of all. You are the farmer, and the present moment is your planting season. You may not be able to change the harvest that is already ripe, the circumstances that are already present in your life. You must tend to them, yes, but you are not condemned to replant the same old seeds. The power of karma does not lie in the past. It lies entirely and exclusively in the here and now. Right now, in this moment, you can choose to stop scattering the seeds of anger, fear, and judgment. Right now, you can begin to consciously and deliberately plant new seeds. What if you chose to plant a seed of forgiveness instead of resentment? What if you chose to plant a seed of clarity instead of confusion? What if you chose to plant a seed of love where once you planted a seed of fear? This is karma in action. It is you taking your power back from the past and investing it in the creation of a different future. This understanding resolves the inner conflict between fate and freedom. The ego, attached to its victim story, will want to blame the past. It will say, "My life is difficult because of my karma," using it as an excuse to remain passive. But your soul, your higher self, knows the truth. It whispers, "You are creating your karma right now, with this very choice." Your life is not the result of some cosmic lottery. It is the result of a chain of choices, actions, and energetic states stretching back in time. The beauty is that you can break the chain at any point. The moment you choose a new action, a new thought, a new response, you begin a new causal chain. You begin to cultivate a new corner of your garden. You are not a prisoner of fate. You are the farmer, with soil at your feet and a pouch full of seeds in your hand. What will you plant today? To make this a living practice, we can adopt the habit of the sacred pause. Before you speak, especially when emotions are high, pause. Ask yourself, what seed am I about to plant with my words? Before you act on an impulse, pause. Ask, what is the root of this action? Is it love or is it fear? Before you indulge in a familiar, negative thought pattern, pause. Ask, is this a seed that will bear nourishing fruit? This simple, momentary pause is the space between cause and effect where your freedom lies. It is the difference between being a reactor, unconsciously scattering the same old seeds, and being a creator, consciously choosing what you will cultivate in the garden of your life. This isn't about striving for perfection. You will still unconsciously plant weeds from time to time. The practice is to simply become a more conscious, more loving gardener, day by day. As you live this way, your motivation for doing good begins to profoundly shift. You no longer perform acts of kindness to earn good karma or to avoid punishment. That is still a transactional mindset, a strategy of the ego. Instead, you begin to understand a deeper truth. The action and its result are one. The reward for planting a seed of love is not some future prize. The reward is the very act of planting love. The feeling of love flowing through you is the harvest. The reward for speaking a word of truth is the feeling of clarity and integrity that accompanies it. The joy is in the giving, the peace is in the forgiving, the freedom is in the choosing. You act with kindness, clarity, and love, because doing so aligns you with the fundamental harmony of the universe. It simply feels better. It feels right. It feels like coming home to your true nature. When you truly grasp that every action is a seed, the idea of harming another becomes an absurdity. You understand that to plant a seed of harm in another's garden is to simultaneously plant it in your own, for there is only one garden. This realization that your own joy is inextricably linked to the well-being of the whole is the dawn of true compassion. It shifts you from a self-centered focus on your own creation to a broader, more beautiful perspective. It begs the question, what is the highest use of my creative power? And the answer that echoes from the heart of a conscious creator is not just to tend one's own garden, but to share the seeds, to help beautify the entire landscape. This is the natural evolution from conscious creation to the profound fulfillment of a life of purpose. This is the joy of contribution. You have journeyed inward, cleared the inner landscape, and learned the fundamental law of creation, that every action is a seed. You have begun to consciously plant seeds of kindness, clarity, and love, not for a future reward, but for the inherent rightness of the action itself. As you continue this practice, something remarkable begins to happen. The wellspring of your own being, once blocked by the debris of past hurts and future fears, begins to flow freely. At first, this flow nourishes your own garden, bringing life back to barren soil. But as you heal and grow, the wellspring doesn't just fill you up, it begins to overflow. The natural, joyous, and inevitable destination of all this inner work is not a state of self-satisfied perfection, but a life of meaningful contribution. The deepest joy is not found in receiving, it is discovered in the overflow of giving. For so long, the feeling of being stuck was characterized by a state of intense self-preoccupation. The mind becomes a closed loop, orbiting endlessly around a small, dense planet named me. My problems, my pain, my story, my fears. This obsessive focus, while understandable, is the very mechanism that keeps the prison doors locked. It shrinks your world down to the size of your own suffering. The great paradox of healing is that the fastest path to releasing the self is to forget the self, not through neglect, but through service. When you place your attention and your energy onto the well-being of another, onto a purpose larger than your own personal drama, the hypnotic spell of the ego is broken. You step out of your own small story and into the vast, interconnected story of life itself. The problems that seemed so monumental from within the closed loop are suddenly seen from a higher perspective, and they lose their crushing weight. Yet, as you stand at this threshold of service, the old voices of inadequacy will likely make a final, desperate plea. This is the last bastion of the ego, the myth of not being ready. A voice whispers, "Who am I to help anyone? I'm still a mess. I haven't figured it all out. I need to be perfectly healed, enlightened, and whole before I have anything of value to offer." This is one of the most subtle and pervasive illusions on the spiritual path. It is the belief that you must arrive at a flawless destination before you can show anyone the map. The truth is the opposite. Your greatest gifts to the world are not born from your perfection, but from your imperfections. Your deepest wisdom is forged in the very fires you thought would destroy you. The places where you have been most wounded are precisely where you can offer the most profound healing to others. Your scars are not signs of damage. They are your credentials. They prove that you have been in the battle and you have survived. They make you not a distant, flawless guru, but a relatable guide who knows the terrain of suffering firsthand. Do not wait to be perfect. Your authenticity, with all its beautiful cracks and imperfections, is your greatest offering. Consider the nature of a candle. Its purpose is to hold a flame, to be a vessel for light. A single candle burning alone in a dark room is a beautiful thing, but its purpose finds its highest expression not in hoarding its flame, but in sharing it. A single candle can light 1,000 other candles without its own light being diminished in any way. In fact, the total amount of light in the room dramatically increases. The original candle loses nothing and contributes everything. This is the nature of true service. It is not sacrifice. Sacrifice implies you are giving something away and are now lesser for it. That comes from a mindset of scarcity. True contribution comes from a place of abundance. It is the overflow of your own wellspring. It is the sharing of the light you already are. When you act from this place, the act of giving does not drain you. It energizes you. You become a clearer and wider channel for the infinite energy of the universe to flow through you. You give, and in the very act of giving, you are filled. This is not about grand, heroic gestures. The universe does not measure the scale of the action. It measures the frequency of the intention behind it. To live a life of contribution is to weave countless small acts of selfless kindness into the fabric of your daily existence. These are the micro-contributions that transform the world, one moment at a time. It is the contribution of your undivided presence, putting down your phone and truly listening to someone, offering them the sacred space of your awareness without needing to fix or advise. It is the contribution of encouragement, seeing the seed of greatness in someone, especially when they cannot see it in themselves, and reflecting that beauty back to them. It is the contribution of simple kindness, letting a car merge into traffic, holding a door for a stranger, offering a genuine smile to a cashier. These acts may seem small, but their energetic ripple is immeasurable. They are declarations to the universe that you are an agent of love, a source of light. Find what it is that brings you alive, and give that. If you love to bake, bake a little extra and give it to a neighbor. If you love to garden, share your vegetables. If music fills your soul, share a song that moves you. Your unique joy is a gift. Sharing it is your service. You are not trying to save the world. You are simply adding your unique note of light and love to the symphony of existence. This removes all the pressure and allows contribution to become a simple, joyful, and natural part of who you are. The focus shifts from "what can I get" to "what can I give?" And in that shift, everything changes. As you orient your life around this principle of joyful contribution, a powerful, positive feedback loop is created. It is an upward spiral of energy. By acting as a channel for kindness, you attune yourself more deeply to the frequency of kindness, and thus you perceive and receive more of it from the world. By uplifting others, you are yourself uplifted. The act of sharing your light makes your own flame burn brighter and more steadily. This is the opposite of the downward spiral of self-preoccupation, which only creates more suffering. A life of service is a life that is constantly regenerating itself, constantly being filled with the very energy it is giving away. This state of being, where you are in a constant and harmonious flow of giving and receiving, where your actions are aligned with a purpose greater than your own comfort, where you feel a deep sense of connection to the well-being of all life, brings with it a profound sense of peace. The striving, the struggle, the feeling that you have to force things to happen begins to dissolve. You start to feel carried by a current of benevolence, supported by the very life you are serving. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, the resources you need appearing as if by magic. This is not magic, it is alignment. It is the natural result of a life lived in service to the whole. This feeling of being held, guided, and supported by a loving universe, of living in a state of effortless flow and profound gratitude, has a name. It is called grace, and it is the next step on our journey home. From a life of conscious creation and joyful contribution, a new state of being begins to emerge. It arrives not with a thunderous fanfare, but as a quiet dawn. You have been cultivating your garden, planting seeds of love and kindness, and you have felt the joy that comes from sharing its bounty. You have felt yourself being carried by a benevolent current, an upward spiral of energy. Now, the effort itself begins to dissolve. The frantic rowing ceases. You learn to trust the wind in your sails. You are entering a state of profound alignment, a state where the struggle ends because you have finally stopped fighting the river and have remembered that you are the river. This state has a name. It is called grace. Grace is not something you earn or achieve. It is not a reward for good behavior or spiritual diligence. It is, and always has been, your natural state. It is the foundation of your being that was obscured by the clouds of fear, the static of resentment, and the dense fog of limiting beliefs. All the work you have done until this point, the letting go, the forgiveness, the conscious creation, was not an act of building grace. It was an act of demolition. You were not building a new house, but tearing down the prison that was built over your true home. You were removing all that was not you, so that what you truly are could be revealed. Grace is the peace that blossoms in the heart when you unconditionally accept what is. It is the deep, cellular exhale that happens when you lay down your arms and surrender not in defeat, but in sublime trust to the intelligence of life itself. To understand this state, imagine that you are the sky. For most of your life, you believed you were the weather. When dark clouds of doubt gathered, you thought, "I am doubtful." When a storm of anger raged, you declared, "I am angry." When a cold rain of sorrow fell, you became the sorrow. You identified with every passing mood, every emotional storm, every fleeting thought. You were tossed and turned by the turbulence, believing your very essence was changing with the weather. The shift into grace is the moment of profound realization that you are not the weather. You are the sky. You are the vast, silent, eternally peaceful expanse of awareness in which all the weather of life happens. The clouds of thought, the storms of emotion, the winds of change, they arise within you. They play out their drama, and they pass. They cannot harm the sky. They cannot stain the sky. The sky holds all of it, allows all of it, and remains unchanged. Its nature is peace. This is your true nature. Living as the sky instead of the weather changes everything. It does not mean that challenges cease. The storms will still come. The world will still present its chaos. The difference is that you no longer perceive them as a threat to your being. A person cuts you off in traffic, and a flash of anger, like lightning, may appear in your awareness. But you are the sky watching the lightning. You are not the lightning itself. You don't have to become the storm. A wave of sadness may wash over you from a past memory. You allow it to rain, knowing that the sun is still shining behind the clouds, knowing that you are the vastness that holds both the rain and the sun. The old ego, that bundle of conditioned reflexes and fears, will still make appearances. It will knock on the door of your awareness with its familiar stories of lack and fear. But the inner conflict is over. Before, you would have either barricaded the door in terror or opened it and invited the story in for a month-long stay. Now, you simply notice the knock. You can even smile with a gentle, knowing compassion. "Ah, hello, fear. I see you there. Thank you for trying to protect me, but I am the sky. You are just a cloud. You are welcome to be here, and you are free to pass." You don't resist it. You don't fight it. And so, it has no power over you. It dissolves back into the emptiness from which it came. This state of grace is a frequency, a vibration of being, and you can consciously practice tuning your awareness to it. One of the most direct ways to do this is to cultivate the habit of seeking beauty. Our minds are conditioned with a negativity bias, constantly scanning for threats and problems. To live in grace is to consciously retrain your perception to scan for beauty, for magic, for evidence of the benevolence that permeates existence. Make it a quiet game you play throughout your day. In any given moment, no matter how mundane or difficult, pause and find one small thing of beauty. It could be the intricate, geometric perfection of a spider's web beaded with dew. It could be the way sunlight filters through the leaves of a tree, dappling the ground in a shifting mosaic of light. It could be the genuine warmth in a stranger's voice, the sound of distant laughter, or the feeling of cool water on your skin. This is not about ignoring the pain and difficulty in the world. It is about refusing to give it your entire focus. It is about acknowledging that even amidst the chaos, there is an ever-present undercurrent of beauty, order, and magic. By deliberately placing your attention on these things, you are attuning your entire nervous system to the frequency of grace. You are telling the universe, "Show me more of this." And the universe, as the perfect mirror, will oblige. You begin to notice synchronicities, moments of perfect timing, and small miracles as a regular occurrence, not because the world has changed, but because your capacity to perceive its hidden harmony has expanded. Living in this state brings a profound sense of peace. You realize that you don't need life to be a certain way to be happy. You don't need circumstances to be perfect. You begin to see the perfection in the imperfection. You see the hidden gift in the challenge, the lesson in the loss, the strength forged in the struggle. The constant need to control, to manage, and to manipulate reality falls away, replaced by a deep and abiding trust in the flow of life. You are at peace with the unfolding of your journey, even when you don't understand it, because you know that the sky is always blue behind the clouds. This, then, is grace. It is the end of the war within. It is the feeling of being home, no matter where you are. And as you rest in this state, as you embody the sky and allow the weather of life to move through you without resistance, a final, liberating truth dawns. If you are already this vast, this peaceful, this untouched by circumstance, then what are you striving for? What destination are you trying to reach? You realize that freedom was never a place to get to. It was not a prize to be won at the end of the journey. The state of grace reveals that the journey and the destination are one. Freedom is not the goal. Freedom is the way. You are resting in a state of grace. You have learned to be the sky, not the weather. You have felt the profound peace that comes from aligning with the flow of life, from a place of contribution and trust. In this quiet, luminous space, a final question naturally arises. For this entire journey, we have spoken of letting go, of transforming, of finding freedom. We have sought it as if it were a distant shore. But if peace is already here in this moment, if you are already supported by the benevolent current of existence, then where is this freedom we have been seeking? The answer to this question is the final key, the one that unlocks the door and reveals that the door was never locked in the first place. The answer is the end of all seeking. First, we must dismantle the fantasy of freedom that the ego has constructed. The mind imagines freedom as a destination where all problems cease to exist. Freedom from bills, freedom from difficult people, freedom from sickness, from aging, from responsibility, from pain. The ego dreams of a perpetual frictionless comfort, a life without challenge. But this version of freedom is a cruel illusion. It is a paradise that can never be reached, because life, by its very nature, is a current of constant change, challenge, and contrast. To predicate your freedom on achieving a perfect set of external conditions is to sentence yourself to a life of perpetual bondage, for you will always be at the mercy of the next unexpected bill, the next difficult conversation, the next turn of events. This chase for an external, problem-free state is not the path to freedom. It is the very definition of a prison. There is an old story of a seeker who heard of a legendary treasure called freedom. They spent their life in pursuit of it. They studied ancient maps, which were the books and philosophies of others. They crossed vast, stormy oceans of emotional turmoil. They climbed treacherous mountains of self-doubt and despair. They journeyed to exotic lands, seeking gurus and teachers who might hold the key. They gathered many interesting experiences, many beautiful concepts, but the treasure itself remained elusive. Finally, old, weary, and having exhausted every map and every path, the seeker returned home, their heart heavy with a sense of failure. They had nothing to show for their life's quest. And in that moment of complete surrender, sitting in their own simple, familiar garden, they gave up. The search was over, and in the silence of that surrender, their gaze fell upon a strangely shaped stone they had tripped over 1,000 times before. Something prompted them to dig, and there, buried beneath the very ground they had stood upon when they first dreamed of their quest, was the treasure chest. It had been there all along. You are that seeker, and this journey through these many stages has been your voyage across the world. You have bravely navigated your inner storms and climbed your inner mountains. And now you have returned home to the stillness of the present moment. And here is the ultimate truth, the treasure that was buried in your own garden from the very beginning. Freedom is not something you find, achieve, or earn. Freedom is what you are. It is your essential nature. It was never lost. It was only veiled. The entire journey of letting go was not about acquiring freedom, but about removing the layers of illusion that obscured it. Think back. You let go of your attachment to the familiar, 2.1, and you realized you are the changeless awareness in which the familiar appears. You let go of resistance, 2.2, and you realized you are the accepting space in which all things are allowed to be. You let go of the stories of your past and your anxieties about the future, 2.8, and you discovered you are the timeless presence of the now. You let go of your limiting beliefs, 2.4, and you found you are the pure potential that exists before any belief is formed. You let go of the need to be a separate, defended self, 2.14, and you realized you are the unified consciousness in which all selves exist. You let go of the grip of unforgiveness, 2.15, and you discovered you are the open heart that was never truly harmed. In every step, you were not adding something new. You were uncovering who you have always been. Freedom is not an attribute. It is your essence. It is the silent, spacious, indestructible awareness that is reading these words right now. You are not the body. You are not the mind. You are not your story. You are the free, open space in which all of those things arise and pass away. This is the final inner shift. It is the profound acceptance that life is a dance of challenge and ease, of sorrow and joy. The goal is not to live a safe life, free from storms. The goal is to become such a seasoned sailor of your own consciousness that you can navigate any storm with skill, with grace, and even with a sense of exhilaration, knowing that your vessel, your core awareness, is unsinkable. True freedom is not freedom from the difficulties of life. It is the freedom to experience life in its totality without being destroyed by it. It is the freedom to feel anger without becoming anger. It is the freedom to feel sorrow without becoming sorrow. It is the freedom to face uncertainty with an open heart, trusting in your own resilience, in your own vastness. You are no longer afraid of the weather because you know, finally and completely, that you are the sky. And so we conclude our journey not with a complex new practice, but with a simple act of remembrance. This is how you embody the treasure you have found. Every morning, before your mind has a chance to tell you all the stories about what is wrong and what needs to be fixed, perform this one simple act. Place your hand over your heart, take one deep breath, and say to yourself, either silently or aloud, these 5 simple words: I am free, right now. This is not a request. It is not an affirmation to convince yourself. It is a declaration. It is a statement of fact. It is the conscious alignment of your mind with the deepest truth of your being. It is you, the seeker, standing in your own garden, acknowledging the treasure that lies beneath your feet. The great search is over. You have come home to yourself. The freedom you were seeking was the seeker. The peace you were chasing was the space in which the chase was happening. There is nowhere else to go, nothing else to find, nothing else you need to become. You are already whole. You are already complete. You are already, and have always been, magnificently free. We began this journey together, standing at the edge of a river frozen in winter. We observed its surface, seemingly static, lifeless, and trapped. A perfect reflection of a soul that feels stuck. Now, at the close of our journey, let us look at that river again. The ice has melted, not because you waged a war against it, not because you hammered at it with force and fury, but because you allowed the gentle, persistent warmth of your own awareness to shine upon it. You learned to be still, to listen, and to love the parts of you that were frozen in fear. You are no longer the river trapped beneath the ice. You have become the current itself, flowing with purpose and with power, merging finally and completely with the great ocean of existence. This is not an ending. It is a beginning. The true work, the true art, begins now, in the ordinary moments of your life. Every breath is an opportunity to return to the present. Every challenge is an invitation to be the sky, not the weather. Every interaction is a chance to see yourself in another, to plant a seed of kindness, to contribute your unique light to the world. The strength you need for this ongoing journey is not found in these words, but in the silent, spacious awareness within you that has been listening to them. That awareness is your guide, your sanctuary, and your unbreakable core. Trust it, return to it. It is your home. Do not strive to become extraordinary. Simply realize the quiet miracle of being completely, unapologetically yourself. The answers you once sought are not waiting for you in some distant future. They are coded into the silence of this very moment. And the freedom you chased across the world was never a destination to be reached. It is the very essence of who you are. The search is over. Come home to yourself.